All right, what's up, bro?
What's happening, Reggie?
Oh man, chilling, man. What we got on the agenda for today?
Well, today we're going to talk about how the United States government stole gold from all of its citizens in 1933 by making it legal to do so. We're going to talk about the Cestui Que Vie Act of 1666 that I said I'd go into in more depth, um, and and then we're going to talk about how the monetary system works. See, I mean, a lot of people think they know, but they don't know, right? And how that's all going to tie into how it's all going to tie into obtaining your trust.
All right, let's go into it.
All right. So the first thing I've got everything written down here. Just a second. Let me. All right. So first thing we'll talk about is how the United States government stole the gold, uh, thereby taking us off the gold standard, um, and and how fiat currency was created. And then we'll talk about that. Well, we'll talk about the Cestui Que Act of 1666. So um, we'll just jump right into it. So Executive Order 6102. It was signed on April 5th, 1933 by Franklin D. Roosevelt, forbidding the hoarding of gold coin, gold bullion, and gold certificates within the continental United States. The executive order was made under the authority of the Trading with the Enemy Act of 1917. Having goals trading with the enemy act. Anyways, as amended by the Emergency Banking Act in March of 1933. Um, so the it forbid the ownership of quantities of gold coin, gold bullion, and gold certificates worth in excess of $100, which at the time was about 5 ounces. With exemptions for specific uses and collections, it required all persons to deliver excess quantities of the above on or before May 1st in 1933 in exchange for $20.67 per ounce. It also enabled federal funding of exchange stabilization or the Exchange Stabilization Fund using profit realized from international transactions against new federal reserves. So the government gave $20.67. So first they ordered people to sell their gold to the government for $20.67, right, per ounce.
Back in, get a time period on that.
So everybody had to give up their gold by May 1st of 1933. All right, and it had to be surrendered to the United States Treasury. May 5th. So also with this executive order, it also allowed for the President of the United States to set the price of gold. Right, so everybody had to turn in their gold by May 1st. On May 5th, the president set the price of gold at $35. and then took the profits realized from that in order to fund the Exchange Stabilization Fund. It's just so crooked, it's ridiculous. So the limitation on gold ownership in the United States was repealed after President Gerald Ford signed a bill legalizing private ownership of gold coins, bars, and certificates by an act of Congress codified and went into effect December 31st, 1974. So there was multiple House resolution bills that went into this that were so crooked. There was one senator that tried to sue the United States. So he was incarcerated, but then the Congress and the Senate, which, by the way, there was only one senator that spoke up against this. Okay, every other senator, every other state representative were all in for stealing the gold from the United States. So if anybody ever thought that politicians give a flying fuck about them, you know, they got to be out of their damn mind. The one senator, you know, he sued the United States. His last name was Campbell. I've got all this written down, which we'll go into here directly. But so he was incarcerated, but the Congress, you know, now they're kind of thinking, oh shit, what if the local population, you know, doesn't agree with this? What's going to happen? You know, they're going to come over here, torches and pitchforks, freaking doggone, kick in the door. You know, what's going to happen to us? So that's when they passed a bill that allowed for every individual in the United States for all their debts to be paid for by the United States government, right? Their debts would be charged off completely. People don't know this. You've got to claim your status. You've got to liquidate your trust, and then all your debts are going to be charged off. So going back into that, there was so the executive order was tied in with the Trading with the Enemy Act of 1917, amended by the Emergency Banking Act of March 9th, 1933. So a violation of the executive order was punishable by a fine of $10,000, which is equivalent to $200,000 today. So it exempted customary use in industry, profession, art, sign makers. The order also permitted any person to own up to $100 in gold coins. The paragraph also exempted gold coins from that have recognized special value to collectors of rare and unusual coins. So the price of gold was then raised by the Gold Reserve Act to $35 an ounce. The resulting profit funded the Exchange Stabilization Act, established by the 1934 Gold Reserve Act. The regulations prescribed in the executive order were modified by Executive Order 6111 on April 20th, both of which were ultimately revoked and superseded by Executive Order 6260 and 6261 on August 28th and 29th, 1933, respectively. Okay, so Executive Order 6102 also led to the extreme rarity of the 1933 double eagle gold coin, one sold in 2002 for $7.5 million. Numerous individuals and companies were prosecuted now for owning gold, right? Subsequent to Executive Order 6111 and the Gold Reserve Act of 1934. So there was one prosecution under the order was ruled. There was only one prosecution that was ruled invalid by the federal judge on the grounds that the order was signed by the president instead of the Secretary of the Treasury as required. And that was the senator. So he was let out of jail. The circumstances of the case were that an attorney and Senator Frederick Campbell had a deposit at Chase National Bank of over 5,000 ounces of gold. When Campbell attempted to withdraw the gold, Chase refused. Campbell sued Chase. A federal prosecutor then indicted Campbell the following day for failing to surrender his gold. Ultimately, the prosecution of Campbell failed, but the authority of the federal government to seize gold was upheld. Campbell's gold was confiscated. The case was caused for the Roosevelt administration to issue a new order under the signature of the Secretary of Treasury related to the seizure of gold and the prosecution of gold hoarders. A few months later, Congress passed the Gold Reserve Act, which ratified Roosevelt's orders. A new set of Treasury regulations was issued, providing civil penalties and confiscation of all gold and imposition of fines equal to double the value of the gold seized. Prosecutions of U.S. citizens and non-citizens followed the new orders with a few notable cases. So, non-citizens, so foreign entities, the United States government started stealing gold from other countries or other entities that operated sovereign from another country. So Gus Farber, diamond and jewelry merchant from San Francisco, was prosecuted for the sale of 13 $20 gold coins without a license. Secret Service agents discovered the sale with the help of the buyer. So there was a snitch going around trying to doggone freaking get people thrown to Hooskow. Farber, his father, and 12 others were arrested in 4 American cities after a sting operation conducted by the Secret Service. The arrest took place simultaneously in New York and 3 California cities. Morris Analyk was arrested in New York with $5,000 in U.S. and foreign gold coins. Dan Levin and Edward Friedman of San Jose were arrested with $15,000 in gold. Sam Nankin was arrested in Oakland. In San Francisco, 9 men were arrested on charges of hoarding gold. In all, $24,000 in gold was seized by the Secret Service. David Baraban and his son Jacob owned a refining company. The Baraban's license to deal in unmelted scrap gold was revoked, and so the Barabans operated their refining business under a license issued to a Minnie Sarge. The Barabans admitted that Minnie Sarge had nothing to do with the business and that she had obtained the license so that the Barabans could continue to deal in gold. The Barabans had a cigar box full of gold-filled scrap jewelry visible in one of the showcases. Government agents raided the Barabans' business, found another hidden box of U.S. and foreign gold coins. Coins were seized. Baraban was charged with conspiracy to defraud the United States. What the fuck? Look, the United States, one man issued an executive order to steal everybody's gold, and then they're going to charge somebody with conspiracy to defraud. So we're going to steal your shit. And since you refuse to give it to us, you're defrauding what we authorize ourselves to steal. What the fuck? Moving forward, Luis Ruffino was one individual indicted on 3 counts purported violations of the Trading with the Enemy Act of 1917, which restricted trade with countries hostile to the United States. Eventually, Ruffino appealed the conviction to the Circuit Court of Appeals, 9th District. However, the judgment of the lower courts was upheld based on the president's executive orders. Ruffino, a resident of Sutter Creek County in California, was convicted of possessing 78 ounces of gold and was sentenced to 6 months in jail, paid a $500 fine, and had his gold seized. Foreigners also had gold confiscated and were forced to accept paper money for their gold. The Übersee Finance Corporation, a Swiss banking company, had $1,250,000 in gold coins for business use. The Übersee Finance Corporation entrusted the gold to an American firm for safekeeping, and the Swiss were shocked to find out their gold was confiscated. The Swiss made appeals, but they were denied. They were entitled to paper money, but not gold. The Swiss company would have lost 40% of their gold's value if they had tried to buy the same amount of gold with the paper money that they received in exchange for their confiscated gold. Another type of de facto gold seizure occurred as a result of various executive orders involving bonds, gold certificates, private contracts. Private contracts are bonds that were written in terms of gold were to be paid in paper currency instead of gold, although all of the contracts and the bonds proclaimed that they were payable in gold. And at least one, the 4th Liberty Bond, was a federal instrument. The plaintiffs in all cases received paper money instead of gold, despite the contract's terms. The contracts of the bonds were written precisely to avoid currency debasement by requiring a payment in gold coin. Paper money, which was redeemable in gold, was instead irredeemable based on Norse versus United States 294. The consolidated gold clause cases were the following. Perry v. United States, U.S. v. Bankers Trust, Norman v. Baltimore, North v. United States. The Supreme Court upheld all the seizures. Pierce Butler dissented. The other four justices were labeled the Four Horsemen by the compliant press as their views were in opposition to Roosevelt's New Deal. So the Gold Reserve Act of 1934 made gold clauses unenforceable and authorized the president to establish the gold value of the dollar by proclamation. So even though we're operating within maritime law in the United States, so contract law or law of commerce, which demands that any contract agreed upon be serviced by service the same. Now they're saying, well, all that's shit, anything that you were going to receive in gold to avoid paper money, well, you get paper money. So, like I said, Roosevelt changed the statutory price on gold from $20.67 to $35 an ounce, devaluing the U.S. dollar, which was based on gold. So that price remained in effect until August 15, 1971, when Richard Nixon announced that the U.S. would no longer convert dollars to gold at a fixed value, thus abandoning the gold standard for foreign exchange.
So under Nixon is when that changed. So under Nixon is when
even though, that's when the gold standard was abandoned, in truth. But in 1933, when people had to surrender their gold to the United States, now the United States owns, or the government has all the wealth. Everybody else has what? Paper.
Bonds and shit.
So, right. So, well, not payable by gold, though. It was just paper bonds that could be paid with paper. A reserve note. So, in 1933 is when we actually got off the gold standard. In 1971, that's when it became. That's when we got off the gold standard. In truth, I guess. So the limitation on gold ownership of the U.S. was repealed when President Gerald Ford permitted United States citizens to purchase, hold, sell, or otherwise deal with gold in the United States or abroad. It did not repeal the gold repeal joint resolution, which banned any contracts that specify payment in a fixed amount of money as gold or a fixed amount of gold. So contracts remained unenforceable if they used gold monetarily rather than as a commodity of trade. So let's see, in 1977, that was amended. Parties could again include so-called gold clauses in contracts made after 1977, but it had to be a fixed amount and it had to be in conjunction with paper money. Then, so laws in other countries. So, in Poland, they got off the gold standard. In actuality, in 1919, it forced citizens to sell their gold and silver to the state. It was extended until January 31st of 1920. Australia, Part 4 of the Banking Act of 1959, allows the Commonwealth government to seize private citizens' gold in return for paper money, where the Governor General is satisfied that it is expedient to do so for the protection of the currency or of the public credit of the Commonwealth. So we're in debt. We're going to steal your money. We're going to give you these doggone notes printed and issued by a centralized bank so that we can pay off our debt to the centralized bank. What the fuck? Kiss my motherfucking ass. Get me out of the goddamn matrix. Okay, so the United Kingdom introduced the gold trade ban law in 1966, also called the Exchange Control Act. It became illegal for United Kingdom residents to continue to hold more than 4 gold coins dated after 1817 or to buy any gold coins unless they obtained collector's license from the Bank of England. The reasoning was to prevent people from hoarding the gold while the cost of living and inflation increased. So, look, the government's been stealing from people, enslaving people, and you know, using everybody to funnel wealth by virtue of their sweat equity or their labors from the private sector to the public sector since freaking day one, y'all. Or at least shortly after day one. When Benjamin Franklin, I'm telling you, Benjamin Franklin said, hey, we give you a republic if you can keep it. Knowing damn good and well every fucking republic ever fell because people quit paying attention. You know, these crooks get into office. We vote them in. You know, and all of them are attorneys. And the Bible only, you know, only said a bad thing about one profession. One profession, right? So, you know, that's basically saying everything bad, every pox, every horrible hex on the lawyers. Hey, look, nothing was said about prostitution. Lawyers, right? Okay, so I mean that ought to tell you something. Jesus wasn't meek, by the way. I mean yeah, the temple. What did Jesus do to them? He kicked over their tables and he fucking chased them out the damn temple with a bullwhip, y'all. So, man, fuck a lawyer, fuck a tax collector, and fuck the de facto government. What are your thoughts on that?
My thoughts make me go into what was the reasoning behind it, and especially like when you get to the point of the UK also moving towards it. Now, what I've read on the reason behind the change in the standard is based on the scarcity of gold, and also with the fact that they don't want, because most of the people who obtain gold, like the average citizen, didn't obtain gold. Gold was held by the wealthiest of individuals or people within maybe a certain financial class. So they were the ones able to hold and be able to purchase gold as a safe, a safe keep for their, securing their money, because I don't think there was what we got like now in the banking system where the government would guarantee to protect a certain amount of your money in the account. There was no measures put inside the bank if the economy had collapsed or whatnot. And I think that's kind of where they moved from out of that standard, being that people were accumulating all the wealth going to private citizens, and the government really didn't want that. So they shifted away from individuals having control of a commodity that was scarce, because once gold being limited, go about the trade of it, these guys can inflate the pricing on it, increasing the value, and become very powerful individuals, which you did have a lot of very elite people back in that time period. The Carnegies, what's the dudes who ran the oil trade, what was it, Standard Oil, whoever the guy behind that. You had many very powerful people. Mm-hmm. Yeah, many very powerful people who were gold holding whatever you call these cats, magnets, whatever the word they use, but financially wealthy type people. So government want to move away from those type of controls and people holding all the controls, probably more controls over the amount of gold and reserves than what the government had. So that was one of the reasons where I heard for the transition. Tycoons, thank you, Andrew Charles. Such as many of the tycoons are very, very powerful people. And so that was kind of the reason for moving behind that. Now you hold a certain, because it's weighted out. So if you got 1 million tons worth of gold inside the country. So inside America, say you holding 100 million tons of gold, and private individuals holding 600 million tons of it, versus the government only having 400 million tons. It makes these people more powerful than the government, more wealthier than the country. So that's kind of the reason from breaking away from that. Um, and also with the how do you collect taxes on just certain individuals who hold gold? There's many different reasons behind it. That's what I always come to the conclusion when they do things. What excuses do they give? What reasons do they give? And that's why the reason why I hear is from that depression, and also to take to where you don't want certain individuals having too much power, and especially when you're dealing with like tycoon types who can come together, formulate their own system, and be more powerful than the country. Because even during the Civil War, you had powerful individuals who were able to fund and kind of create their own campaigns going into that war. So, but that's my thoughts on it. Mine is more of looking into like in debt, and then the thing you brought up with Nixon, I didn't know Nixon and them had anything to go on about that during their time period. So it's like in between Roosevelt up to the 1970s with Nixon's. What were the other presidents doing in between then, and what was Congress doing in between then to not change it? Yeah, go ahead.
So I don't have the answer for that. But so looking at what you said, the research that you've conducted and what you've learned as far as the reasoning, or we'll say the excuses as to why the government decided to make it legal to steal uh, a commodity from the private sector and then put it
Really,
into the
just from the
public
rich
sector
though, 'cause
to pay the
it
public
wouldn't
sector's
affect it.
debt.
Yeah, it wouldn't have affected us though.
Sir?
It wouldn't have affected us. That was something that the would have affected wealthy individuals, because average people didn't hold gold, and many of them didn't even hold silver.
But a lot of people in that time frame from 1890 till the 1930s um were paid in gold. I mean, now it may not have been a whole lot. I mean, and you look at the gold rush era, 1849. Then you've got Alaska. um there was a lot of people that put everything they had into going to look for gold. What they found may not have amounted to what they put into trying to get, but a lot of people did strike rich and become wealthy, or at least were able to continue their search for the commodity. Um, and that gold went into circulation. They might have just had gold dust. They'd take it over to the assayer's office. The assayer would say, okay, well, this is how much you have, which they would either issue uh, uh, currency, government currency, or um, the miners or whoever would take it and they would pay for everything that they had with gold, and it was weighed. Okay, well, this is how much you've got. Okay, so you get this. Um, so gold, uh, as a valuable commodity, was circulating pretty regular within the economy. Um, so that, in conjunction with the government issued currency, uh, were uh, were both forms of legal tender. Um, Now the government did have a stash of gold. It certainly did, because the U.S. dollar was backed by gold. Now, I believe what you're saying, is 100% correct. It couldn't be any other way. Okay, well, we've got these wealthy individuals. We've got the Carnegies, the Warburgs. The Warburgs was the railroad guys. The Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, and the whole bunch, right? And so uh, they were extremely wealthy, and they did utilize gold in order to hold on to a lot of that wealth and stockpile that for themselves. Um, but either way, I don't give a flying flip how wealthy somebody is. When the government says they're going to come snake something from somebody, you know, Okay, so that's wrong. Now, I want to jump ahead just a little bit since we're talking about currency and go into the monetary system before we go into the Cestui Que Act of 1666. So the monetary system in the United States is completely debt based. All right. So when you have $1, you have $1 worth of debt. All right. So each dollar issued is based upon $1 worth of debt that must be paid by sweat equity or the labors of the citizens, and be funneled, that labor has to be funneled to the United States government, right? So being that we're operating on a debt-based currency, when you discharge bonds or you claim abandoned property, abandoned money or whatever from the U.S. Treasury, you are discharging debt. So if the United States Treasury was discharged of all bonds, all abandoned property, it would literally be balancing the budget and taking care of the national deficit. So what the United States does is every day the deficit goes up. Why does it keep going up? Because the government keeps borrowing money from the Federal Reserve. All right. So the Federal Reserve is issuing $1, and that dollar is $1 worth of debt plus interest from the government to the Treasury. That's why we're considered vessels, empty vessels, or singular corporate entities, and not live free men, so that we can push that wealth to the government and cover the debt that they have accrued by virtue of borrowing from the Federal Reserve. So if $1 is $1 worth of debt plus interest, then discharging bonds, discharging debt, and receiving abandoned property from the United States Treasury would be taking the debt off of the government and then putting it in our own pockets as legal tender. Does that make sense?
A little bit.
Why you look so tired? You and Jordan must have doggone had a hell of a night.
No. I didn't hang out too much with JL because he had hit me when I just got off of work. But no, I had a long ass day today.
Oh, okay.
But no, I'm good though.
Okay. Oh man, I'm sorry. All right. Anyway, so if you was to take money from the Treasury and put it in your pocket as legal tender that you could then spend on goods and services, then the national deficit would go down, and the budget be balanced completely.
Yeah, but
the reason that the United States doesn't do.
No, this was the way I was going to say it. But this is what I was going to say, because even with that, with the standard, you still have to create, like if you're going to abandon one system, so this gold system, if you're going to abandon that, you still have to come up with a new system that economists, because you also got to think in play, like it's just not the president making this. There are economists who go about these rules, and internationally, there's other countries who also go by the standard and have to abandon the other rule because of the process of trade. But so going into the standard where they move away from gold, and now you come up into kind of like the accounting system of debts and credits, and you still got to balance that out. Like we watch national debt, we see in which the way in which the company, I mean, not the company, but the country is a company. The way in which the company goes about its spending and its borrowing as well, and it's managing and mismanaging of the stuff. So that's kind of the way that I see with the system of the what we call it, the fiat system. It's a system that can work, but say we are to go back to the gold standard. What do you have that's so much against moving away from the gold system, and why the system that we're in can't work with the printing of money? Because with the gold standard, I think is another a problem they ran into. So it's the expansion of this country is that when you're dealing with a limited resource of you needing to go and mine gold, can't find it here, but you needing to fund certain projects, you're not getting that. But also what is exchange and the system of even printing out the money is the exchange of services of labor, and that's kind of why the country's moved too much towards being a service style country. Is that you can still create an economic system that can flourish off the system as long as you budget it. But the other thing that comes into play with it is high levels of corruption. You deal with the corrupting of the financial systems that you have to worry about. That's the only downside of moving away from that gold standard. But like I say, the gold only benefited the wealthy.
All right. Yeah, Andrew, bet. So the dollar is tied to oil. Um, that's why it's the world's reserve currency. Um, I don't know if you was with us, Andrew, when we talked about how in 1955 how the Secret Service went and or the CIA Secret Service, same damn thing, went and printed up all the counterfeit Lebanese dinar and put it on everybody's doorstep. People woke up millionaires, or so they believed, and immediately all of the counterfeit money um, and was put into the Lebanese economy, thereby crashing the Lebanese dinar, which was the world's reserve currency prior to 1955. Um, uh, Saudi Arabia had been courted by the United States by ambassadors and oil tycoons and so on and so forth, and government officials for several years as the whole, you know, the money backed by gold lie was starting to freaking dissolve completely, and people understood or were catching on or were getting clued in. Um, as you know, their parents told them all about how government agents came and seized the three gold coins that they had or whatever that were uh, you know worth over $20. People started seeing that, recognizing that. I'm sure that there were publications put out. And then in 1971, when, legally we were off the gold standard, people started to see that as well. But of course, in 1971, 1955 had passed with the Lebanese economy crashed. Basically, we got the United States government standing there saying, hey, so Saudi Arabia, you want to start moving oil in U.S. dollars now? Because Lebanese dinar is worth fuck all. Of course, did they tell them, hey, we're the ones that caused that? It wouldn't have mattered at that time anyways. What was done was done. The Saudi Arabians, the royal family, Saudi Aramco, whatever, they're all the same thing. They really didn't have any options. So the reserve currency, which the world's actual currency is gold, by the way. Just the reserve currency is the U.S. petrodollar. So it is tied to oil, but it's not, i.e., backed by oil. What it's backed by is the faith and credit of the American people. So our belief that the dollar is worth something, that this piece of paper, this 6-inch piece of paper, is worth what that 6-inch piece of paper has written on the front of it, That's the faith. The excuse me, the credit of the American people is our trust that was set up in order to discharge all of our debt, in order to keep the American people from going and kicking in the doors of everybody in government, holding tribunals and freaking cutting off the heads of every son of a bitch that freaking worked in politics. They had to do something to save their own damn skins, they weren't going to go for freaking doggone public beheadings or public hangings or doggone, lining them up at the doggone in front of the firing squad. They didn't want to be a part of that, so they had to do something to save their own freaking asses. So that's what happened. So all of us were set up with a Cesta KV trust, i.e., our Social Security accounts. All right. So I understand, we all believe that we're paying into Social Security and that we're going to get a portion of that because we're going to die between retirement or when we're eligible for Social Security after retirement and whenever we die, that we're only going to get a portion of that. But all that we're ever going to see is what we paid in. Except there's a lot more that's just not put out there. Okay. Because what was put into our account was what is actually backed by gold. How much you weighed at the time of your birth, how much that gold was valued at the time of your birth. And so that money is actually backed by gold. So it's backed by something other than your belief that this piece of 6-inch paper is worth something. So, I mean, JFK wanted to go back to the silver standard. He issued an executive order to go back to the silver standard. He came on TV. He gave that he had that press conference where he said, we're going to go back to the silver standard. We ain't going into Vietnam. I'm going to split the CIA into a million pieces. And he'd already stated that we weren't going to go into Cuba, So, I mean, he ruined the plans of the Italian mafia because they were going to use Cuba and set it up as the new Atlantic City. That was their plans. The CIA, everybody who worked for the CIA, the Secret Service, and everybody else, well, they didn't want to lose their jobs since they're, one of the entities that's pulling the strings. And then, if we didn't go to Vietnam, then Bell Aeronautics wasn't going to get the no-bid contract to build all the helicopters, the military helicopters, the Huey, the Chinook, so on and so forth, which, Bell, who had the last name of Bell? Well, that was Lady Bird Johnson's maiden name, and LBJ was majority shareholder of Bell Aeronautics. So, I mean, somebody's going to miss a payday on that. If we went back to the silver standard, well, that would kick the Federal Reserve smooth out the doggone country. Well, the Federal Reserve would go. So you got all these really powerful factions that were set to lose a whole lot of money if JFK freaking lived. And then, what was it? 3 days later, he was in the car in Fort Worth, where
right,
he was shot supposedly by that clown up there. He was sitting up there. He was put up there by whatever agents from whatever doggone alphabet soup agency and told, "Hey, sit here and eat this doggone jelly sandwich." And then he wasn't nothing but the patsy, man.
Firing the magic bullets.
Yeah, the magic. Let me tell you who shot that son of a bitch. I tell you, I think it was George Bush, since he was over the secret security detail at the time. Heck, you see him jumping on the back of the car like he's trying to save some damn body. Man, get off the bullshit. That son of a bitch had a 45 long coat doggone Derringer freaking.
Wait, you talking about President Bush?
George Herbert Walker Bush was
out there?
The secret security detail. He was the one that you seen jumping on the back of the car when you see JFK's head go backwards like he was shot in the front of the head, not the back.
I gotta pull this shit
That
up.
was George Bush Sr. Pull it up, man. Yeah,
Well,
look,
yeah, 'cause I
there's no
remember
way
that
to
shit.
believe in all these these coincidences, you know, and actually believe, well, everything is a coincidence. This was coincidence leads to this. Hell fucking no. Look, this shit has been constructed.
What the hell? Yeah, that's some crazy shit. But a lot of people think that they think his vice president was behind that. Which looking at him is look through that
Hey,
video,
LBJ
it
was
makes no
behind it
sense.
too.
Yeah, he looked like a shiesty
Hey,
ass
LBJ was
individual,
behind
man.
it too. Yeah, Lyndon B. Johnson was one of the most crooked individuals that ever lived. You know, he had he owned or was majority shareholder of nearly every broadcasting station in the major broadcasting station in the United States at the time, TV and radio. Okay, that's why JFK chose him as his running mate, because he was a shoe-in for the president if he had access to all of these new resources to get, you know, get his face out in front of people or his voice out in front of people. I'm a big JFK fan. As far as the things that he did, things that he believed in, and so on. But Lyndon Johnson was a crook. All right. John Connally from Floresville, all right, was the governor of Texas at the time. Uh, and that was Lyndon Johnson's best friend. And John Connally was actually set up by Lyndon Johnson to be the next president of the United States. I mean, and Lyndon Johnson got his way all the time. You know, somebody who didn't agree with any of his policies or publicly disagreed, they just disappeared one day and nobody ever heard from them ever again, such as John Connally. So Lyndon Johnson went on TV and he was, you know, he had John Connally with him, you know, to kind of promote him as he's going to move from the governor of Texas and you know, he's going to run for president. So he was going to do all this. So he was on TV talking about that, had John Connally there, you know, all this brotherly love, all this bullshit. And John Connally stood up there at the podium and went to talk and said, you know, yeah, me and LBJ, we agree on almost everything. But there's a few things I don't agree with. And then he publicly spoke about it. And then John Connally committed suicide by shooting himself in the back of the head twice.
Oh wow.
It's just,
But man,
it's
politics
absolutely
was
ridiculous.
yeah, the politics in this country and the politicians from back then were like very, very fucking shady ass people. And you just think about the time period of this country, man. There's a lot of deep seated bullshit that went on in this country, man, and especially the racial side of shit within Americans' politics. America's politics were deeply segregated, deep divides between the party systems. So you know they and anything that came with change, like they were people meant to get shit done. But these dudes, I don't know how they pulled that shit off. I don't know how they pull Kennedy's shit off, and it's crazy that it would never ever be solved. Like these folks will go to the grave, and that shit will be forever lost, man. That's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, there's there's all kind of things, you know, that the government is pulled off, and I mean, it's hard to believe from doggone, you know, JFK's assassination to, you know, stealing gold, getting rid of all the gold at Fort Knox, to the doggone moon landing. As far as I'm concerned, look, I don't believe the moon landing ever happened. That was all to drum up support for the damn Cold War. And that shit was filmed in a Hollywood basement, man. But just all this shit's put out, and now that there's that the law was, look, if any law is passed that it says bipartisan, all right, that just means that a bigger than usual cover up is taking place. Okay, I mean, if you've got all the politicians in on it, then you know that some crooked shit is going down. And that's just a fact of life. Yeah, the Kennedys were in some damn shit, deep shit for sure. Yeah, they did. So, the Kennedys was already into some shit. I mean, I don't know, Andrew, if you know how they made their wealth, but they made their wealth by bootlegging during Prohibition. Hey, which I'm all for it, because when tyranny becomes law, it is the duty of the patriot to become an outlaw. Fuck that shit. If you want to infringe on my rights, or you want to say that something is illegal that is not unlawful, fuck you, I'm gonna do it anyways. Hide and watch. So yeah, they made their wealth during Prohibition. Hey, what's happening, D? And of course, when JFK was in there, he threatened to expose everybody. He was going to get rid of the Federal Reserve. Like I said, go to the silver standard. Couldn't go to the gold standard, because I mean, hey, we'd already stolen everybody's gold. So, and of course it was already gone by then anyways. We didn't have shit in the damn in Fort Knox. The Italian mafia wasn't going to be able to increase their wealth because they couldn't go, we weren't going to go leave Cuba bombed out and depleted for them to ease it there and turn it into the new Atlantic City. LBJ, JFK didn't get along with LBJ. LBJ probably realized, hey, I was only used for my doggone for my media resources, because everything that I want, this guy ain't doing. And then, of course, the CIA, which is the CIA has always been a crooked organization. It's always been funded by something that is against the law. It's the only way it exists. I mean, the CIA is completely funded by drug cartels south of the border that are able to operate with near impunity in the United States, bringing drugs across the border. They pay their duty to the CIA, and that's the only way they operate. All them little agencies, the ATF, the DEA, not the FBI. That's funded by us, whatever, the government. But the CIA, the ATF, and the DEA is all funded by the drug trade, by the illegal weapons trade, by human trafficking. That's all a fact. That's all been found out in FOIA requests. So, just like MK Ultra. So MK Ultra, the only reason we know about MK Ultra and Operation Paperclip is because a FOIA request was put in concerning something trivial by a reporter at a news agency. And they sent the wrong paperwork that had been filed incorrectly and was supposed to have been destroyed, but wasn't somehow or another. And so they asked, they wanted the copies. Is okay. Well, somebody slapped down a copy of all of the paperwork that was left, all the documents that was left concerning MK Ultra, and so I'm. Can you imagine on a fax or opening up a letter or whatever, and you find out that the United States government had absolved a bunch of Nazi scientists and physicists and engineers and stuff from the Nuremberg trials, as long as they would help the United States with their experiments concerning mind control, and that we're going to utilize the students at the damn universities around the country in both the United States and Canada as a control group unknowingly. Fuck, that shit went fucking public in no time. But then, of course, it was shut down, and a lot of people don't know about it because the government's quick to freaking doggone clean up its mess and do damage control. Throw people in the doggone jail for just reporting on the bullshit that has been involved in. Fuck, let me off the ride already, y'all.
Wait, go into depth on the MK Ultra, because I know I heard of that shit.
Okay, so it started with Operation Paperclip. So at the end of World War II, which, by the way,
that's the nuke shit, right?
Throw this
that's
out
the nuclear
there.
programs.
How many of y'all believe that the United Sir?
The Paperclip, you talking about the nuclear program? Ain't that one of the nuke programs or some shit?
No, that was Manhattan the Manhattan Project. No, but Operation Paperclip was at the end of World War II, which, by the way, if you think we won World War II, we didn't. I'll go into that here directly. At the end of World War II, the United States had been talking about mind control as a military weapon, and in Nazi Germany, hey, them Germans was freaking smart, y'all. Okay, and they was involved in a lot of shit, experimental stuff, cutting edge stuff for the time, and the United States government found out about it by virtue of after we done kicked in the door these different labs and experiment facilities or whatever, found this paperwork where the Germans had already been experimenting with mind control, and according to the paperwork, they had results and so on and so forth. So what they did is they had all of these Nazi scientists and physicists, engineers that were heads of these Nazi government departments. They rounded them up. They stuck them all at one prisoner camp, where they were then an ambassador from the United States went over and talked to him, said, look, here's the deal. We're going to have these Nuremberg trials. If y'all are found guilty of, atrocities against humanity, you're going to go in a hole in the ground. Okay. But now we have all this paperwork tying you directly to these experiments concerning mind control. If you help out the U.S. government, certain concessions might be able to be made to where you don't have to die, and maybe you could be exempted from the Nuremberg trials. So we brought them over to the United States, and so they were supposed to hand over all of the findings that they had from their experiments, all of the science behind all of that, and they were supposed to actively help with the experiments that the United States government wanted to get the findings of. And so in both Canada and the United States, the universities, not every university, but universities across the country, were utilized for these mind control experiments, which what they would do is they would take one or two dorm rooms or dormitories, the whole building, and they would take that building and they would cut it off from the community water supply and put it on its own water supply, where they would then put things like LSD, methamphetamines, DMT, PCP, and they would dump this doggone concoction of all of these illegal drugs into that building's community water supply, fucking them kids up, and then them kids unknowingly would be requested to involve themselves in in voluntary experiments that were being conducted by, you know, this tenured professor or this professor that wasn't tenured, or whether it just kind of showed up out of nowhere and wanted to do these experiments concerning something, and they didn't say it was mind control. So the students would either agree or not agree, and then they were just snatched up, or they were put in a basement somewhere, and whilst under the effects of all of these narcotics, all these drugs, and so on and so forth, they were forced to watch all of these images of death, and you know, there was all kind of things that they were exposed to. They were put under like electrical stimulation, all kind of things.
The Unabomber went through that shit, right?
The Unabomber, Timothy McVeigh, uh, oh man, the guy they said killed JFK.
Oh,
I
Oswald.
can't remember everything. Y'all help me out.
Oswald.
That's right, Oswald. That's right. Walt Whitman. So all of these people were people that either assassinated somebody or was involved in some kind of mass shooting or some kind of violent act against the government or against people. Walt Whitman is the guy that set up on the water tower over there at the University of Texas in Austin and shot all them people. You know, there was the Unabomber. Hey, the guy that they found that was sending the anthrax in the freaking in the mail. That guy was that too. Timothy McVeigh. He's the one that blew up the doggone the government building over there in Oklahoma. You know, look, freaking, I understand if they do. I mean, of course, you don't know what you don't know, and hindsight's 2020. So years later, all of these findings come out about MK Ultra, and they find out about it. They're like, "Holy shit, that was me." I think I'd be pissed off at the government too. You know, I don't know about you, but if I found out that I unknowingly was forced to ingest all these drugs, and then, you know, this electrical you know, forced to look at horrible images of human atrocities and all of this, you know, carnage, and then, you know, whilst being hooked up to a car battery or whatever the hell they did, you know,
you seen
you know,
Clockwork
I think
Orange?
I'd be pissed. And the government is, sir.
You remember the film Clockwork Orange? What you explained is almost like in one of the scenes in the lead character where they take him through some shit like that. I don't know if you ever seen that twisted ass movie.
No, I've never seen it, but I want to look at it now.
You got to check it out because it was a film that was back in that time period. What was, I think it was banned in this country for a moment in time, but it's like a twisted twisted. Matter of fact, let me show you the cover to that shit. It was a twisted British made film, but it's like with this lead character committing all sorts of like wicked atrocity. These motherfuckers listen to Beethoven's eight whatever his symphonies or whatnot, and that's like criminal music to them, but where they go out here and behave in some ill ass manner. Well, let me see, Clockwork. Hold on, Clockwork Orange. Yeah, you gotta check this shit out. Let me find this shit real quick. But it's almost describing like what you're talking about with them going through these programs, because they sent him through a program, but it worked in the reverse. It worked to where he didn't have these violent impulses anymore. But let me see, Clockwork. Oh, I'm typing in the wrong shit. I'm gonna flash it on the screen. Go ahead, bro.
All right. So do you have anything else that like you'd like to ask a question about concerning any of that? Let me see. Uh-huh.
Yeah, so this is
I'm
part
gonna
of
have
one
to
of the
check that
scenes
out.
where he going through this type of shit. Hold on. And they showing him all these wicked images and shit, almost basically like what you were describing. And this is like the character when he listened to some Beethoven and shit, he turned into this like sinister character. Let me find a movie cover, man. It's a crazy,
Yeah, he
crazy
looked like the
film
Mad
and
Hatter.
shit. Yeah, this is the film right here. Stanley Kubrick. But yeah, it's almost describing like what you're
So
talking about, and that's kind of the premise to the film and shit.
yeah, I mean, it makes you think: does art mimic life, or does reality mimic art? You know, I mean, uh, I keep going back to it, but the book George Orwell's 1984. I mean, you know, that was supposedly written as a warning, but you know, did the world governments take that as a playbook, utilize it as a playbook? You know, I don't know, uh, but but yeah, yeah, I'm gonna have to check that out. I'm gonna have to look at that. Um, but hell, I can see it happening. I mean, you know, all them people, them kids over there, you know, at college trying to obtain an education, and they over there uh, getting these experiments done on them. They was also experimenting with subliminal messages and you know creating soldiers out of freaking nobodies. Kind of like you see that stupid ass picture show doggone Zoolander with that freaking goofball.
Oh, Ben Stiller.
Yeah, Ben Stiller over there, and then old Dick Nose, he's in there too. Um, uh, where they got him, where he gonna hear that song, and then he's gonna go batshit crazy and uh, fuck off the damn ambassador or whatever. That's one of the things that they were trying to do was to get you know certain people, um, people that would be completely unassuming, to be assassins when prompted by some kind of outside stimulus. Um, anyways, it's fucked off. But I will check out that Clockwork Orange for real. Uh, so we go into the Sesta Act of 1666 real quick. Let me pull up my notes on that. Okay. Um, so I'm gonna try to kind of give an abridged version, because there's a lot to it. But so it's called the Sesta Act of 1666 in United Kingdom. So an act for redress of inconveniences by want of proof of the deceases of persons beyond the seas or absenting themselves upon whose lives estates do depend. So that it basically put us on maritime law. Everything's going to be commercial law or law of contract. Um, and what this is it's the unwritten laws concerning piracy were written down. All right, and then it was put into effect as how that the government or the monarchy, parliament, whatever, was going to um, conduct itself concerning the general public. Um, Basically, made everybody in the government pirates, and everybody else was either a commodity or they were just considered lost at sea. So it says, whereas diverse lords of manors and others have granted estates by lease for one or more life or lives, or else for years determinable upon one or more life or lives. And it has often happened that such person or persons whose life or lives such estates have been granted have been gone beyond the seas or so absented themselves for many years that the leasers and reversioners cannot find out whether such person or persons be alive or dead, by reason whereof such lessers and reversioners have been held out of possession of their tenements for many years after all the lives upon which such estates depend are dead, in regard that the leasers and reversioners, when they have brought actions for the recovery of their tenements, which is claiming abandoned property, have been put upon it to prove the death of their tenants, when it is almost impossible for them to discover the same, for remedy of which mischief so frequently happens to such lessers or reversioners. So, concerning the United States, the Sestake Act of 1666 was put into more common language, even though common language concerning law is never common. You know, it's sprinkled with Greek and Latin words and everything, you know, and then words that are spelled the same but have a different meaning, whether it's used as a noun or a verb. And this is all shit, you know, that the government uses, the courts use to create criminals out of otherwise peace-loving people, right? So just remember, when you go into court, you ask the questions. You don't give answers. I mean, look, everybody in there, ask them, hey, before we get started, I've just got a few questions that, you know, yeah, go ahead. All right, who in here is a servant of the court? And, you know, you'll have the judge raise his hand and the prosecutor raise the hand, and then if you got an attorney, then they're going to raise their hand, and then the lady at the stenographer, she going to raise her hand, and the bailiff is going to raise their hand, and then you're going to say, well, I'm not going to answer a motherfucking thing, because when was the last time you seen a free man taking orders from fucking servants? Fuck you. You know, I'll ask the goddamn questions around here. You know, you know, I'm going to appoint myself judge. Freaking, you know, seriously, because look, so another thing, the United States Constitution, as well as just about every state constitution, bans, makes it unlawful for monopolies to operate within either within the boundaries of that state or within the boundaries of the country, right? Everybody knows you can't have monopoly. There's laws against monopolies, right? And then also it's unlawful federally, as well as most states' constitutions state that a foreign entity or a foreign corporation cannot work within the public sector of the United States, because that would be like a foreign corporation working as a contractor for the government or whatever. It's unlawful. Every judge and every motherfucking goddamn lawyer. Oh, by the way, that's 99% of them motherfuckers that y'all voted into office too, because they're all fucking lawyers. They were all attorneys for the insurance companies, all right, or the insurance industry, all right. Every one of them, what do they got to do? They members of the Bar Association, all right. What is the Bar Association? British Accredited Regency. That's what BAR stands for. Now, I don't give a fuck. Hey, look, I asked my attorney the other day. I said, sir, are you a criminal? And he says, well, no, of course I'm not a criminal. I said, well, you're a member of a monopolistic organization that's working inside the government. You know, I mean, if you don't have your bar associate, you can't practice law. You can't do your job. And he says, you don't understand anything. I'm a member of the Texas Bar Association. Fuck off, guy. Hey, look, I don't give a shit if the Bar Association is, you know, it's the British Accredited Regency, DBA, doing business as the Texas Bar Association. I don't give a fuck. That's still a doggone foreign entity. And you are, you're not accredited, but you're a member of a monopolistic organization that is, it's a foreign corporation working inside the public sector because you work for you're involved with the public sector. Okay, you're an agent of the court, which, by the way, Black's Law Dictionary defines agent as an actor. So you should. I'm gonna ask the judge. So who owns an agent of the court? Okay, everybody raise their hands. Okay, so Black's Law Dictionary defines agent as actor. So are you a judge? You acting like a judge? What kind of stage am I on over here? So as the agent of the court, he has to be a member of the Bar Association, which is a monopolistic organization that's also a foreign corporation operating the public sector. Look, so if all of those people are single-handedly just flipping the bird at the Constitution, and I took an oath to uphold, defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. Hey, pay attention, attorneys, judge, stenographer, doggone politicians. You're a domestic enemy to the Constitution of the United States. We all governed by crooks. We're being sentenced to go to jail. We're being thrown in jail and being represented by a bunch of criminal factions that have all thumbed their nose at the Constitution. Hey, how are you supposed to goddamn hire somebody to represent you, and you want to cite your constitutional rights when that guy has already flipped off the doggone Constitution? You know, how are these judges that are elected going to sit there, put their hand on the Bible, and raise their right hand and do solemnly swear to uphold and defend the Constitution when they already fucking it off themselves?
Yeah, I think it goes a little deeper than that, like with the attorneys, because it depends on like where you're speaking on with the law. But inside the criminal side of shit, I think I'd rather just be straight to the damn point, not having to go through all that legal litigation and shit. But I think at some phases of the law, I think that the law, nah, it don't work perfect. The shit is fucked up too. But I think that the structuring in which the standards are supposed to work, I think are properly, the way in which they envision that shit. It's just the fact that when dealing with people, you're gonna always deal with fuck ass people who can't hold the proper standards of law, who bend the rules and readjust the goalposts to the rules. They have varying standards on how they go about making decisions on rulings and shit like that. And I think that's where the problems come in. But even from back in that time, I think laws adjust and laws change. But in some points, you do need this legal system when it comes to prosecuting certain shit or needing to, deal and handle disagreements or disputes and shit. Like in my vision, if I was to create a structure of a system, I will have a system of a court, but I think there needs to be many changes in the way in which America goes about the structuring of the system and shit.
Well, sure. By virtue of the Constitution, the Articles of Confederation, the Declaration of Independence, the government was the people set up the government in order to provide for them the things that they couldn't provide for themselves. There were 16 things. Today, in 2022, the government provides over 25,000 things. Okay, and so, but they show you one thing over here so that you don't see what this other hand is doing. While they're providing these over 25,000 services, these services are set up to generate wealth. And I mean, the government doesn't really create anything, so they gotta, in order to, provide a service for somebody, they've got to take it from somebody, you know what I mean? So, since we're based on maritime law and everything is commercial law, contract law, all laws are contractual in nature, other than anything that is legislated concerning the deprivation of life, liberty, and property, life or liberty. So any individual that's harmed or their property is injured or destroyed or some way, okay, those are the only laws that really ought to stand in effect. I mean, all these other laws in the last 20 years, I am not aware of any law that was ever anything that was ever legislated, any legislation ever passed that was not considered for public safety. Everything is public safety. Oh, it's public safety. This is public safety. How is me not wearing a seatbelt affecting the fucking public? Kiss my motherfucking ass, dude.
Yeah, that's when the overreach
I don't need to wear. Yeah.
Yeah, no,
I
I'm
mean,
about to
it's
say
just,
that's
it's
that's
preposterous.
when the government is like really overreaching in a lot of shit.
I mean, that in and of itself saying freaking, oh, if you don't wear a seatbelt, that affects the public. So I'm gonna have to write you this ticket for doing something that may or may not be a detriment to your health and nobody else. Hey, look, man, I don't know if you can look it up and find it or if you ever saved it. My conversation with them two fucking goddamn Department of Public Safety clowns that pulled me over there in Beeville. You remember that video?
Oh, with the
that I had on Facebook back in the day?
With the shooting at the church or somewhere?
The state troopers.
Yeah. I remember you had the one with the shooting that was at the church. Is that one?
Yeah, no, it's before that, where them two state troopers were over there and I was talking my shit, when they wanted to detain me and all this shit. And I told him, I said, hey, so, he said I was violating the law. And I said, oh, well, what law was I violating? He says, well, you were going a little over the speed limit. I said, well, I didn't know that, can you please show me that law written down? A little over the speed limit is considered breaking the law. And then he said, well, and then when he got into my truck and he was going, looking around, he said he was measuring the doggone tent on the windshield, and I told him that, yeah, he says, well, that could interfere with your vision. That's public safety. I said, oh, the little tent on the top of my windshield. What about them fucking goddamn blacked out wraparound fucking glasses you got on your face? Fucking, hey, you and you arrest each other. Fucking write each other fucking citations. And I told, they decided that they were going to split up because one of them trying to do damage control. The other one got to watch me. And I asked him, I said, so I heard the ignorance of the law is no excuse for breaking it. Oh, yeah, absolutely. I said, is it excuse for or is it a prerequisite for enforcing it? And then they look at me with their mouth open. Yeah, let's talk about laws. Let's talk about a violation of Fourth Amendment. Let's talk about Texas state law concerning Texas Castle Doctrine. Since my vehicle is an extension of my home, that right there is fucking breaking and entering. All right, fuck it. Anyways, them fucking dipshits. But that's what they do. They operate under color of law, which literally gives a police officer or the fucking police at will. They can operate under color of law, which is this is some clown who's wearing a costume and has a plastic badge that an agency gave him, and somebody told him that it's okay to pack around a pistol, just don't point it straight at himself. And fucking now he can interpret the law however he sees fit and just kind of create it on the as he goes. you know, and so he could charge anybody with anything, anytime, and throw them in jail. Oh, and if it just so happens doesn't it? I'm sorry, it just so happens that it isn't a law. Then okay, well, we're gonna let you out of jail then. But on your forever record, it says that you're charged with something that ain't even a fucking law. Cradle to grave, cradle to grave. We want you in the motherfucking goddamn system, man. This shit fucking has me running hot on the daily, dude.
Yeah, no, I can tell, man. I can tell you don't fuck with it, but a lot of people don't, man. And I was thinking about this shit today, man. It's funny you talking about that. And because I don't got my I got my tags, but I've just even all last year I didn't put the motherfuckers on. I just kept them in the center console. But I'm just thinking because I'm like I still don't want to put them on because I'm like I need to chop them with a razor blade. But I'm like, as I see cops going by and shit or parked over in store parking lots or they got people pulled over. I was just thinking like how far some cops take it to where they'll state they pulled you over for registration violation, or you missed or a tail light is out, or some tint issue, and then they start adding on other shit like you was talking about them needing to measure your tint, need to see this and that. It's like I think some of that shit needs to be pushed back with some of these with some of these departments. Like they have too much overreach. And I was seeing one where this video I was seeing today where a New York cop approached the man for I don't even know what the fuck it was for. It's probably for it wasn't really nothing, but the guy was like resisting. I was like, man, I'm not like you up here harassing me, like leave me alone. He's trying to walk off and he's pushing the cop who's trying to stop him from walking, and the cop fire punch on him and just get the punch in this dude in the damn face. And when they're speaking to some law expert who when the news agency I'm watching doing it, and the excuses they come up to justify the actions of these officers. And I'm like, that shit is just bugged out to me where his response is, well, you need to comply. If an officer walks up to you, he has the right to stop you and question you, and you're the only say what do you say like the only right you got is to comply. I'm like, that ain't the way this shit fucking works. And in my mind, I'm like, we got the wrong people within this damn system. And matter of fact, it was Bill Braden, who used to be a fucking an LA police chief, who was the chief somewhere out with the NYPD, who was like justifying that shit. I'm like, that's the problem within the system. It's like even before you even go deeper into the court system, you deal with the enforcement side of the shit with these cops and you know the upper chain of command that investigates their officers, they review shit, and they make every excuse to justify it and tell that they have the power and right to do whatever they want to the civilian population, and that shit is wrong as fuck.
Yeah, so and that's the thing, you know, police. Okay, so let's look at the word police. I've been learning a lot about grammar, syntax, and word usage. You know, specifically for being able to represent myself in court and clown all these motherfuckers. I can't wait to go again. I'm gonna get that. I'm gonna tape that shit, Reggie. Fucking throw it up on the YouTube. We all gonna laugh at that. But so police, you know, that's policy enforcers. So look, any state code or municipal code, any policy, that's not law, right? So concerning law, in order to have a law or something to be unlawful, then there has to be an injury to a person. Somebody has to be deprived of their property, or they have to be deprived of their liberty. Anything else is to generate revenue. All right, it's not against the law. So the majority of your police agencies don't enforce law. They're going out and saying, "Oh, you broke the law." Traffic code, Okay, traffic code isn't law, guy. Freaking, it's embarrassing that I need to explain this to you. But so you've got these codes and policies, whatever, right? So these clowns are over there enforcing it, thinking that it's law when it's not, and don't even know the code or the policy or anything that they're tasked with enforcing, and they're just coming up with shit off the top of their head. And I mean, these motherfuckers ain't smart enough to doggone pour piss out of a boot if the motherfucking directions was written on the fucking heel. All right. And so they just coming up with shit, just throwing it out there, hoping that somebody gonna bite, that somebody ain't gonna be informed. All right. And so literally that would be like, hey, I'm gonna go apply at NASA as a fucking engineer to build a fucking airship. I'm sorry, I have not mastered or know absolutely anything about the intricacies of fucking rocketry, but them some bitches will hire me to build a fucking airship to go off to damn Jupiter or whatever else. That's what you got, right? So what does the cop say? Hey, well, no, that's not a law. Oh, tell it to the judge. So, and then they'll come to you. They'll want to engage you in something, and then they want to escalate the situation in order to stack the charges. Okay, because they're on a point system. We can't call a quota anymore now because that'd be bad press. But they have a point system. Arrests made, traffic tickets given, working an accident, whatever. So there's points that are given based upon each one. So if somebody is arrested, charged, or booked for 5 different offenses, then they're going to get their little points or whatever, which means that they don't get admonished. They're still up there for promotions, pay raises and stuff like that. If they don't meet their point system, they ain't getting none of that shit. So when they engage someone and then they can't make anything stick, what do? They want to arrest them for resisting. Okay, now look, that's the dumbest shit in the whole world. If somebody is arrested, charged, and booked on nothing but a resisting arrest charge, that literally means that they did nothing wrong. They simply tried to not be arrested when somebody was trying to kidnap them. The kidnapper just happened to be wearing a costume and a plastic badge that said the state on there, and now they're being charged with criminal activity. How the fuck does that work? Resist an arrest. The shit blows my mind, man. So, talking about going into court cases, I say all law is corporate law, all law is contract law. Every time you go into court to fight a traffic ticket or anything, anytime you go to court, a bond has to be filed. All right. That's right. And the judge isn't there to read the law and make a decision based upon what the law states in black and white. The judge is there to interpret the law. So however he decides the law should be, according to his own point of view and opinion. Sometimes it's based on statute, which is what some other clown freaking 50 years ago decided the law should be, according to his opinions and values. It's stupidity. So when you go into court and you say, hey, I want to rescind my signature. I'm going to rescind anything that I have to do with this contract. And the judge, what? Excuse me, what? You can't just do that. Well, sure I can. So was there a bond that was set concerning this case? Well, yeah, I told you your bond was there, so. Okay. Hey, prosecutor, did you bring your checkbook today? Excuse me. Yeah. Did you file the surety bond? Did you purchase and file the surety bond prior to us coming into the courtroom? Well, well, don't worry about it because I did. So, in this other research I'm doing, you could become your own secured creditor. And becoming your own secured creditor, then you could go purchase the surety bonds through the court. And if you are the owner or possessor of the surety bond prior to going into the courtroom, you own the motherfucking case. So hey, here's my surety bond concerning this case. So I'm gonna declare myself to be the judge. In fact, you're relieved of your duties. You go back to your chamber, set over there if you want to. In the meanwhile, anybody got anything else? Because I'm fixing to cut out. Like I got other things to do. And
that's all I got.
And then discharge the bond.
Oh, you talking about the court thing? No, I thought you just talking about you had to jump off. I forgot you going through the scenario.
Yeah. Court. Yeah, no, and so you just dismiss everybody from the court. They all looking around, like a retard in a room full of bouncy balls, don't know what the fuck's going on. You just step out to that sumbitch, fucking step up to the fucking court clerk still sitting out there and fucking discharge the bond, pay yourself, fucking get the fuck out. Right? I mean, that's that's how it would work. Believe me when I tell you, fucking, I'll go flying through fucking town. Yeah, I mean, my truck got governor on it. It only run 89, but I mean, them school zones is pretty easy to get into fucking during the middle of the week. So, let me become I'm gonna get my secured creditor, become a secured creditor, and I'm gonna go get me a traffic ticket, and I'm gonna film myself freaking going and purchasing a fucking surety bond prior to freaking court. I'm gonna tell everybody I got this surety after I clown them all. Talk about, hey, who's the servant of the court? Who's a servant of the court? And I'm gonna tell them all they're crooks for being involved with the British Accredited Regency and all that shit. And then when they threaten to hold me in contempt, I'm gonna say, hey, Mr. Prosecutor, you bring your checkbook because I got the surety bond. I know that you were betting the farm on the fact that fucking nobody would know any better, and that a surety bond was supposed to be purchased or and issued and filed prior to this case. But you done fuck with the wrong hand. So here it is. I own the whole fucking case. Everybody's dismissed. I gotta go back over here, clerk of the court, and get paid. And I got other shit to do. Catch me if you can. What the fuck you gonna tell?
Yeah, you gotta record this shit when it go down, and you gotta upload that video.
Oh, I mean,
do you still got the Facebook video?
No, and after I shut down that Facebook account, man, I couldn't find it. I couldn't even find it before that. Like somebody had fucking like Mark Zuckerberg was doggone censoring my fucking shit for clowning those two jackasses.
Oh, they did what they did to you, what they be doing to my black ass. Always shutting my shit down.
I mean,
man, them fucking stay shutting me down. I can't even post shit over there now. I'm banned again. I'm like, God damn. Instagram doing the same shit to me. But I'm like, I ain't gonna stop. I'm gonna keep putting up the shit I put up. Fuck it.
Hell yeah. Fuck them, dude. Like old boy says, fuck it. I've been waiting for the government to kill me any day. Hey, look, one thing though, since I've been doing my doggone research, weird shit been going down with my fucking electronics. Like I couldn't get on the internet earlier. I didn't even call you until until I was up and running. I was trying that for 30 fucking minutes. The Wilson County drone program is fucking in full effect over my ranch. I done had one horse crippled already.
Man, they ain't gonna do shit. Don't worry about these fools. Hey, but they've been talking about
hell no.
They've been trying to put out the shit about the cyber hacking and shit. So I'm not sure what the cyber hacking shit is about. If that's some government thing or if is it something that affects the ability to connect to the internet. So I'm not sure what because they've been putting out warnings about because of the conflict and about Russians interfering with the internet or whatnot. So I'm not sure if that could be part of that.
Let me ask you a question. What do you think about that whole? Because I've been looking at stuff. I always play devil's advocate. Let me look at it from the other side. And let me see. I know what they're saying over here. Let me see what they're from their point of view. What's this other point of view? So, what do you think about the whole Russian invasion of Ukraine stuff?
Man, I think Putin a piece of shit from one point. With his point that he was making was the fact about this nation bringing in like whatever they view the nation, the United Nation as an enemy of theirs. But it's like the thing that's crazy about it is like Russia's part of the United Nations. Russia has a voting power in the United Nations. So it's like, why are you afraid of the protections they give to these sovereign states? And then he goes in there to invade on the pretext of what he tells the world that there's Nazis over there, they're oppressing the people. But when he sends his forces in there, his troops are killing civilians, and now it's been broken out where everything that he come in for, his reasoning for the invasion, has been null and void based on the actions of the soldiers. Now they come up with the atrocity of Russian soldiers tying up people, gunning them down. They're finding mass graves and stuff, civilians being killed. So it's like you're defeating the purpose of what's behind your invasion. And then the fact that you talk about coming as liberators and the people of Ukraine are opposed to you. The people fleeing Ukraine aren't fleeing to Russia. They're fleeing to neighboring nations. So it's like I don't think it's so much about Russia. I think it's more about that leader in Putin. Guess it could be possible what they've been saying about Putin could be true, that the dude is losing his brain and he's going a little bit rogue. He does wield his power with a heavy hand against anyone, even the wealthiest people in the country. They seem to be afraid of the guy.
So, like I said, I was researching this whole Ukrainian conflict. So, when Putin comes out and says, they're Nazis and all this, well, yeah, there is kind of. So it's a battalion. It's called the Azov Battalion. It's Special Operations Detachment in Ukraine, but it's so the Azov Battalion. It's not part of the regular military. It's the Special Operations Unit, the Ukrainian National Guard, which they were fighting the Ukrainian government before they were trying to defend Mariupol during the Russian invasion. So and they are they're neo-Nazis. they've been fighting the Ukrainian regular army since 2014, involved in a civil war of the Ukrainian National Guard fighting the fucking, I don't know. It'd be like freaking, the enlisted army guys freaking getting in a barroom brawl with the fucking the National Guard boys over outside a Barstow or something, but
right.
just on a bigger map, you know what I mean? And they are like a neo-Nazi. That's their whole thing. And now these aren't guys that just, the National Guard over Ukraine ain't like the National Guard over here. The National Guard is just a bunch of guys that was getting drunk and said, "Hey, I think I'm gonna be in the National Guard. Hey, let's fucking start a unit. Okay, well, let me call up my cousin Jim and Uncle Ted. They'll probably they've been on the sauce. Fucking, they'll probably join. That's the kind of thing it is. So." Anyways, but there's enough of them clowns over there to doggone have a whole battalion. So that much is true. Okay, so I don't know. I'm just going to defer to you. Russia is part of the United Nations.
Yeah, they sit on many of the councils over there, even when they're doing these emergency meetings and they're putting up votes, and like today they're voting to put out the forgot what committee is, like the humanitarian something to put in, and that's where it became where China and a number of nations refused to vote against Russia, because the one thing, and this is just the thing where for me it's just like war makes no sense. It makes no sense for war. I think countries have to find ways to resolve shit to allow countries to be free. Those people don't want to go back to living in a USSR state of life, and where it wasn't a prosperous life. And even what people were saying, been watching reports from people over in Russia and about what they speak about Russia, where Russia is glorious from the wealth that it accumulated from oil. But is it a true accumulation of wealth? Because when you look at the way in which the revenues from its oil production is spent in the country, it's an embarrassment. Russia looks like a real undeveloped nation. It hasn't advanced nothing. Everything invested in that country goes to military spending, and that's what Russia's always made its mistakes. So the people in the Ukraine don't want the Russian invasion. There should be ways to resolve it, but Ukraine should be able to defend itself from shit like this. Is any sovereign nation. Otherwise, you don't have a nation if you can't defend it. And this is the case in point in this situation. But I think Russia has an issue. But I think Russia, the paranoia, not Russia, because I like the Russian people. I ain't gonna put on the Russian people. I think it's the paranoia of Vladimir Putin. And I think it's because of the old ideals or the old way of life that Putin comes from, that he thinks benefits his nation. Plus Ukraine is a rich nation, and it's something that can benefit Russia rather than Russia having to deal with Ukraine, which I hear Ukraine is corrupt as hell. So I don't know if that could interfere with the relations that Russia has with dealing with these people when it comes to buying grain from there, the trading of oil, and dealing with a country that has its own set of conflicts. But it should be expected. It's a nation that ain't, it's an old nation, but it's a nation that hasn't been, free for far too long. With maybe the last 30 years, 20, 30 years. So there's some things that got to be worked out. But sending the military in there to occupy and conquer them ain't the way. And it's been a real embarrassment because the rest of the world has stepped in there to assist them, because Putin's become just way too dangerous to allow to do what the fuck he wants.
So, yeah, Ukrainian government has been corrupt since freaking day one. and like you said, I mean, I think that what 70% of the wheat in the United States comes from the Ukraine.
I was hearing like the world
And
gets
I think
for the world. I was hearing they are like
they supplied they supplied 90% of the world's grain, and 70% just to the United States alone. So that with the oil, because they do have a state-owned oil corporation. Well, that's where Hunter Biden was doing all his shit, fucking, getting all his money, something like $800,000 a month for fucking being a consultant. Fucking, I don't even know what the fuck that. Whatever, to sit on the damn board over there of their oil company. But so Russia is part of the United Nations. Well, then they're wanting to drop out of the United Nations. And I think the United Nations is a bad thing. I mean, the UN has adopted fucking that archbishop over there for the Vatican, his Agenda 2030. The UN, this guy drafted it. Freaking the UN Council or whatever is pushing it. And then also the UN has pushed a damn that prime minister's jackass is fucking the pandemic response treaty, the fucking worldwide fucking shit. It's all moving towards one world government. I mean, I that's really all I can say. Fucking, there ain't no coincidences, not like this, but so I'm of the opinion that Russia wants to fucking drop out of the UN because I know that Putin said we're kicking the centralized bank out and we're going to the gold standard. He did say that. So I could at least, how he's going about it wrong. Is he one of the good old boys? Absolutely fucking yeah. Is this this whole invasion, has this been agreed upon and fucking, they give the fucking secret shake in some fucking back room, at 3:30 in the fucking morning, Central Standard Time, that everybody's gonna jump on the bandwagon so that we can use this conflict and to push everything in one direction. Yeah, I believe that. But if I'm gonna play devil's advocate, then I know Ukraine was being courted by the United Nations as it was a fledgling country, like you said, fledgling government. We'll just say that. And for Russia wanting to drop out of the UN and then be completely surrounded by the United Nations, that's bad tactics. I wouldn't want that neither, because you got Lithuania right over there by the Ukraine, and all those are all United Nations countries. And then the Ukraine is the only country right there and it splits the United Nations countries right in half that are surrounding Russia. But look, if he made a statement that he's kicking a centralized bank out, freaking, it didn't matter if he invaded or not. Fucking somebody was fixing to invade his ass. You better believe that.
Yeah, well, I just don't think the world is to that point. Yeah, I just don't think the world is to that point to where other nations are going to invade other nations. Now, America has been a war criminalized ass nation as well. I think Bush, 2 wars that he launched were unwarranted. Thought it brought about a lot of unnecessary death to people and the ruining of a country. And then the way in which we pulled out of there was real fucked up. But that's the problem with creating conflicts. There's no real resolve to that shit. You done destroy some people's country, you done destabilize them, and you created what they term as terrorist organizations taking over countries. You gotta leave countries alone, but also you also create. That's the only thing I think is good about the United Nations is you kind of you create them because Hitler is the cause of all this shit. Hitler's the cause of this creation. You don't want advanced and powerful nations going about bullying and conquering and what is that, colonizing fucking other nations that don't belong with them, that don't belong to them. Or you come into countries and certain groups are ruling over minority groups and treating them like shit. That's even like with the conflict in Ethiopia. You got the same thing, which nobody talks about. But you have a conflict to where they're all the same people, but they're divided amongst a religious practice or tribal groups or whatnot. And one group decides that fuck it, we're gonna defend our own land and be separate from you guys inside the country based on you treat your people better than what you treat other groups of people inside this country as. And it leads to these type of things like peace is the only way to go about doing shit. You just got to be righteous in the way you're doing things, regardless of how powerful you are.
So I agree with you 100%, and I think that most of the world population probably agrees, 100% as well. Why can't we just leave well enough alone? But when we say we're really talking about politicians or government entities, but government talking heads, because no individual that resides in Russia, that was born Russian, no single person, the private in the army or the doggone sergeant, that ain't not nary one of them some bitches ever say, you know what, I think I'm gonna invade Ukraine today. Let me gather up, 15 of my buddies, put down a case of vodka and let's go fucking invade the goddamn Ukraine, because it should be Russia, because it was Russia at one point in time. The common man don't think like that, right? All it is fucking politicians and or religious factions that are stirring this shit up to make money, gain wealth, freaking, gain power, and it's all for bullshit, man. Of course, people are indoctrinated since birth. Be proud you're this, from this nation, or be proud, national pride, whatever, patriotism, all this shit. So, of course, when the government jumps into an invasion or joins a war or something, they're going to throw out the false pretenses of, well, we're spreading freaking freedom across the globe or some stupid bullshit, whatever they fucking say that's popular, to get people behind it. And so people involve themselves in it by being forced by the government to be involved in it, and it's stirred up to back it, build support for it. I don't know. I just, in the age of enlightenment, fucking, and everybody carries around all the information from the beginning of time until fucking now. All they gotta do is look it up on the Google box. Just about every person on the face of the earth carries that in their pocket. Think of it this way. In your life, have you ever needed a doctor? Yeah. Have you ever needed a mechanic? Have you ever needed a framer or somebody that does construction? Okay, yeah. You ever need a fucking politician? Tell me true, Reggie. Have you ever needed fucking somebody whose profession was politician?
Of course, man. I'm gonna get into politics, man. I ain't with everybody with every politician ain't shit. I'm not with that. So of course I'll use a politician.
That just sounds like fucking if you can't beat them, fucking join them attitude. God almighty.
No, I'm gonna kick up dust, man. You see, they got all these wacky, crazy motherfuckers in politics. I think they crazy as fuck, but they be saying what the fuck they want. The lady out of where she from Arizona
So-
and McConnell crazy ass.
So, I surround myself with fucking people with different points of view, but at the same time, they're all kind of like-minded. All right. They're all I try to never be the smartest son bitch in the room, because if I am, then I'm in the wrong fucking room, right? I ain't gonna learn nothing by being the fucking top shelf, right? So I had a friend. Now, I'm not gonna say any names or nothing, but he ran for the U.S. Senate, from Texas, and he won. So he he was up in D.C. Oh man, I wonder if I'm gonna get followed by a bunch of motherfuckers talking into their collars for this one. But anyways, so he was up in D.C. It was the first time that he was going up there to vote on something. And he had his wife up there or whatever. Anyways, these people in suits approached him and they said that they was from such and such, corporation, whatever bunch. And that, they, whatever it was, 4 or 5 guys that were representatives of this company or whatever, and they wanted to take him and his lovely wife out to supper and welcome them to Washington, D.C. He says, great. He said, fantastic. Well, we'll send a car over, pick y'all up at y'all's hotel at such and such time, and we've got reservations made over. So they go. So him and his wife eat supper, and they exchange small talk and fucking bullshit ass pleasantries with these so-called representatives. And at the end of supper, his wife, he said, had excused herself to go to the bathroom or something. One of these guys leans over to him and they say, hey, concerning the vote tomorrow on such and such, we need you to vote yes or no, whatever the certain way is, that was going to benefit them. And my friend, he was an idealist. He said, well, I don't know everything about it. I cannot, guarantee a vote yay or a vote nay. Is I don't know everything about it. He said, after I listened to everybody, have their discussion about it, after I read it and I come up with what would best benefit my constituents back in Texas, he said, then I'll decide which way I'm going to vote. And they said, here's the deal. In your hotel room is 20 kilos of cocaine, and there's a paper bag, $53,000 sitting under the bed. Now, you could keep the cocaine and the $53,000 if you vote this certain way. If we don't care what you do with the cocaine, you throw it away, freaking sell it, do it, whatever you want to do. But if you vote this opposite way, or you can't give us a guarantee on which way you're going to vote, then we're going to contact the local whatever sheriff's department or whatever that has SWAT on standby, and are going to raid your room based upon a tip that was very credible, a credible tip from an anonymous party. And even though you're here, I'm sure that they will send a individual to come pick you up here, as the front desk could tell them where you're at. We picked you up, told the front desk where we were taking you. We're just doing you a benefit to bring you over here to have supper with you and your lovely wife. And so day one, he was forced into a certain direction to protect himself and his family. Fucking what the fuck? Ain't none of this shit goddamn, it's all run by fear and doggone racketeering by corporations and the global elite. That's it. And the global elite, to include the fucking the banksters, the doggone the banking cartels. Me and you, fucking, we just another brick in the wall, huh?
But I believe, man, in trying to stand up to shit. I really believe in that and needing to change shit, man. We live too much in the way of these old folks. We live in too much of the way of the old, and the way of the old is too corrupted. And the bullying tactic bullshit that a lot of these folks in American politics have always tried to play. There needs to be resistance. I'm with the resistance against where everybody acts afraid of the negative. They act afraid of the crazy. They act afraid of the so-called powerful. I believe in standing up against that shit when it's wrong. To me, when it's wrong, it must be challenged. When it's wrong, it must be stood up against. It must be fought. And I believe in that shit, man. And because I'm not with party politics, picking political party sides. I think each side may have great points, but for the most part, neither one of them stand for the American citizen. It makes no sense. Like I said, I'm in the cities, and I ain't been back home, and where in LA, I've seen it's even worse. But just being out here in Vegas, you move through the cities and you see how fucked up and deplorable the conditions are for people. Is just regular people get ignored, and everything else is traded, shifted in this country. People look too much at where Wall Street is. The Dow Jones ticks up. How much money this investor didn't earn from doing nothing but sitting on his ass, pushing a button to buy and trade this stock, and this stock price that went up when the average person has been ignored. The person has to go out here and bust his ass for 8 and 10 hours only to get nowhere, but to have a check that provides him with a roof over his house for a month. I'm a politician will go in there to change that shit and will kick up a lot of dust. And I think a lot of politicians, just based on my long observation of shit, is that they ignore that shit. I think in bringing greater awareness to the damn people, what to pay attention to, what to stand up and resist, even with the conditions of our elders, people ignore that shit. The Look at our school system, look at the youth education, where we're falling behind. What the fuck we gonna get out of that? Where we have to bring in so many. America is and it's everything is hidden from where America sits. America has to bring some of the more brilliant minds from other fucking nations who come from their countries ain't developed enough for them to even utilize their talents. We bring engineers and shit over here to work in American companies because we have children who aren't being educated properly enough to go in more advanced careers and shit by the boatloads. And I think it's American politicians fucking over thing. I think America still operates under that fucking still operates under a slave like system and shit, keeping people suppressed enough to where you just work them, you labor the fuck out of them. And I think it needs to change, and a lot of these politicians need to be called out on their shit.
I agree with you 100%. I just don't think that we need a government to freaking, to do that, to have an education system to um, live and do as we see fit. I mean, a lot of people think of anarchy as chaos. Fucking, people are just going to be burning down shit and just all kind of criminal activity, just be a free for all for all kind of crazy shit. I don't believe that. I mean, if being the way that I think and being the way that you think, I mean, I've said it a million times, you and I are a whole lot more alike than we are different. We want to be good parents. We want our children to do better than we did. So we're not going to give them everything we never had. We're going to teach them everything we never knew. Uh, you know, uh, we're all about our family. We don't want to be involved in no conflict. We're peace loving people. Now if some shit goes down, fucking yeah, we'll be right there to take care of it if it's going to involve me or my own. Just like if it's going to involve you or your own, if it's going to be detrimental to your people, you're going to stand up and handle it however that happens to be. um but you don't need government to do that. I don't need government to do that. I can do that very well on my own. Is I'm operating day to day as if freaking government didn't ever exist anyways. I mean, uh and so that's the way I look at it. But you know, you were saying something about, you know, America keeps people in an enslavement due to the way things are, and I agree with you. I think it's the same globally, though. I think that every government, the only way it can stay in operation is to extract the wealth that one creates for themselves and then steal it, and that's the only way to fund the fucking machine. You know what I mean? Because I mean, what has government ever created? What is government? What's you know what commodity do they hold that they haven't taken from somebody else? You know, I mean,
Yeah, I mean,
go ahead,
outside of
Reggie.
like the outside of the theft and things, I mean, the governments have created some great things, but I think in the condition of mindset, man, this is like when I even look at like poor countries, but poor countries who have talented people. Sometimes the people who come from conditions of poverty have to change about the way in which they function. Some of them function without moral or ethics. Like it's this channel I watched with the dude. And I was listening to a matter of fact, he was on a channel called No Jumper, but I was listening to a dude who does this show called Soft White Underbelly. And he introduces, I mean, he not introduced, he interviews a lot of people who come from real effed up conditions. Either they're um, pimps, gangsters, prostitutes, uh, uh, all sorts of people from walks of life where these people living out there on Skid Row. Some of the parts of society that get ignored, but when you look at the conditions of where these people come from and their conditions, they have always come from very unethical conditions. And their thing is to be they're untrustworthy. Their things is to get over on people, and that becomes a condition of a lot of people in poverty is survival rather than finding ways of improving. And even when there's people there that are meant to be good in their life, they don't know how to accept it. Their way is to get over on people like that. And I think the conditions of a lot of people who come from less are the lower economic classes have to change the way in which they're function. The children have to. I think we have to lessen up on the number of children that we're having and shit. We're not able to take care of them because at some point process of growth doesn't change and these kids have wants, and when they can't get it provided, these kids begin to take. I think they become unconscious of it. They were brought here not asked to be here, in conditions where people aren't able to take care of them, and they see others with shit. They're going to end up taking that things, but that's where you end up having to have government uh, uh um that creates laws, because you don't want lawlessness inside of society, because you get it. And we see what's happening in society is there's a lot of reckless lawlessness, but based on people and like and in those cases, that's where people should self-govern themselves. But people aren't doing that shit. And we see too many fucked up elements in our communities and society because we ain't governing that shit. And now the shit has to be policed. And that's where I think we mess up in society. Like a lot of this shit, even if where I'm from, a lack of not governing shit, not putting where some people use a term that I don't even fucking live by being on code and all that shit. Well, if it's being on code, then some shit should be governed. That way you keep other people up out of your shit. But when it's not, when you're not taking care of your own shit, nipping certain behaviors in the bud and normalizing too much shit. You look in certain communities, the drug, like I see so much. That's the thing I love about YouTube, because some people that document all sorts of shit on here. You look in certain communities, the way in which the drug pandemic. There's so many. America's full of pandemics that go unaddressed because America has too much focus on who's rich and who's not, and to create the continuous profits of those who are already rich. Like America really has to, and not even just America, but those who don't want to live under governance or you know policy enforcement by police departments. You got to govern yourself and clean up and do away with certain behaviors that are detrimental to to the progression, safety, and values of a community. Like that's the shit people got to address. Go ahead.
I agree. That is what I agree with 100%. Your last statement. People got to self-govern. Self-governance. I don't see it as an issue of governance, an issue of government indoctrination, as opposed to family education, a lack of morals and values by virtue of overall the widespread lack of the father and a nuclear family. I mean, and of course we've talked about this, and women's liberation and how the construct went with that, and who was involved in starting that whole thing. Not that it's a bad thing overall, but uh, but simply as to why it was started and how it was pushed and what it created. To me, the issues were created by government, and so it is hard for me to believe that government could solve those things if it was a accident.
Naga, my daughter done walked in here. Go ahead, go ahead. I'm still listening to you.
Oh, no worries. Anyways, that's what I believe. Self governments. Hey, I'm not gonna mess with you, and you ain't gonna mess with me. We're gonna respect each other, and we're gonna have, values. Our values. We're gonna have our morals, and we're gonna have honor, and that's what we're going to teach our children, because we want our children to be better than we are, and that's how honor is maintained and passed on to the next generation. We're not going to give them everything that we never had. We're going to teach them everything we never knew, because hard times create strong men, and strong men create good times, but good times create what? Weak men, right? So fucking it, I don't want everybody to think the exact same way I do, because how fucking boring would that be, right? I mean, I wouldn't even talk to anybody. I just stand in the mirror fucking 12 hours a day and freaking listen to myself, bitch. Yeah. So
yeah, we gotta be balanced out.
That's right. But for everybody, to have a sense of honor, and some type of value, which for to break the whole cycle, is it an education thing? Yeah, okay. So to me, when you're slapping the elderly in freaking nursing homes, as opposed to putting them in schools, once a week to talk to the kids that are, 2 or 3 generations younger than that's a problem with me. If those are your elders, in most cultures, or a lot of cultures anyways, they respected the elders. The elders were the ones that everybody learned from, because they've got the wisdom and the maturity to educate people on the ways of the world. They've got a philosophy about life that was built through years and years and years of of um uh of experience. And you know people these days, my mother included, she snuck him in a doggone nursing home and had a freaking estate sale. The freaking man ain't in the ground. Hell, he was still driving a car, but she done freaking give him over to the doggone nursing home. She having a doggone estate sale I wandered up on accident. You should have seen the rest of the family. They look guilty as fuck. They couldn't even look at me. My mother over there like the goddamn estate sale Nazi. She was fucking selling all the damn family history. I bought it. That's the only reason why we still got it. It's just, anyways, it's just an embarrassment how. Anyways, I think that there's a lot of things that could be done different if you know, and I know that circumstances are a lot worse off for some people than other people, for sure. Hey, no doubt. You know, and equality of opportunity don't mean equality of outcome ever. But the things that need to be addressed, I think, are the things that I stated. You know, the things that are important to me: a sense of honor, a sense of you know, values. You know, just you know, the father in the nuclear family, the father around it all. Hell, freaking, you know, it's way easy to skip out and be a deadbeat these days because hey, the government only cracks down on the motherfuckers that's doing something. You know, the runoff some bitch, freaking, they ain't got time for that. Because that takes resources, that takes time. Somebody's got to do their job, you know, to go find a runoff some bitch when the guy trying to do something but falls behind due to whatever circumstances are. He's easy to find because he makes himself known. You know, there's some things that got to change, no doubt, but I think it's got to change in the individual. It's nothing that a government at large could govern into existence.
Yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of the correction. Yeah, I think a lot of the correction lies within us. And I speak on that shit a lot, man. A lot of things that can change conditions to a lot of shit is us. Not tolerating a lot of shit, correcting, or even just pulling people aside to speak with them. That's why I think these conversations are key, because a lot of people don't tap into these motherfuckers or come up into these type of conversations to even, you know, extract these thoughts and to take time to, you know, even look on some things. But I think these things can always be you know, corrected by us, because when we look at the system and you look at in this is like the situation where I even speak with even the level of crime, the crime was talking about the crime bill and all this stuff. But even with jailing people, incarcerating, putting them away hasn't changed much of shit within society. You haven't taught other people who may commit future crimes. You haven't deterred them from that shit. You haven't taught them anything. The only thing that can teach them and to change that is to creating opportunities for one, for people, but also for people. And it stops at the fucking doorstep, because it doesn't begin until a motherfucker walks out that house. And a lot of the issues are coming from out of certain households and walked outside the door and into society. But it has to be corrected within society, values place, and it creates and cleans up a lot of things. But the societies and the opportunities have to be granted and inside of a society. But you can't cut people off to where you don't give them at least a chance to try at some shit. But the change is always with us, and that's why governance is crucial. Definitely parenting is key to the motherfucker. That's like I was putting this video. I was listening to on Willie D and them channel where the young girl was speaking, and she spoke about where she goes and receive advice and her secrets. She doesn't share secrets with her friends. Her place to go get an advice ain't with other people her age. Is to go get it from her parents. And I think that's key. And as long as you got parents that ain't, because some parents ain't worth a fuck. They teach kids a lot of criminal and ill shit. But if you got parents who are wise and stuff, a child should be getting advice from an elder, someone close to him. And secrets should only be kept within that household and not with other people who carry your information. You fall out, now they're sharing your, you know, your deepest of you know, shit that you thought would remain between y'all two. So I thought that was something key, but definitely it starts with us, man. Everything can be resolved as long as people come with, a place of resolve and peace. I mean, if you're doing the right thing, things start with peace.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you. Um, Other than we need outside governance, I
You still got to form it.
yo,
You'll
I
still
mean,
form a government because some motherfuckers belong in jail, though. There's no doubt about that. Or otherwise, we got to kill them.
well, hey, look, anybody that I think truly belongs in jail for something that they did, then the motherfucker really belongs in the ground. You know, uh, everything else, anything somebody I believe should be jailed for, which would be a crime against humanity. Somebody who caused an aversion uh, to somebody's rights, constitutional rights granted to them by their creator, whatever, um, then they ought to be in the ground. That's what I believe. Uh, if you injure somebody or willfully destroy somebody's property or deprived them of property, uh, or you've infringed on their liberties, uh, then fucking you belong in the ground. That's how I believe. And I mean, hell, my great grandfather, when he was a young man, he was the owner of the Henderson Ranch, which at the time it encompassed a large area around Rock Springs, Texas. And my grandmother was just a baby. We know the story, and I mean it's right there on the ranch. My grandmother was uh, playing on the porch. She was a little kid, probably 3, 4, 5 years old. She said, and it's illegal to come up to the house and uh, a lot of them would Rock Springs, it ain't too far from the border of Mexico. They might ask for some water, some food or something, or ask for work. And so, nobody was unaccustomed to seeing them just travel to the ranch. And she said, her grandmother was in there cooking or whatever. She said, well, come in, let me get you something to eat or whatever. And then her grandmother was raped and killed by this illegal. Um, she She said that her dad, he'd been out working with the men. They was all a horseback, whatever. When they rode in that evening, um, they seen the aftermath. And my grandmother, very young, uh, playing there on the porch of the homestead, and uh, they came home and they seen the aftermath. What happened, and so her daddy and the rest of the men out there working, they tracked this dude and they found him off in the brush over there. And his gravestone, as a sign of dishonor, where he was buried, and the gravestone is outside the family plot there on the ranch, and it says his name, and the only other words was burned at the stake. Fuck him, they fucked that motherfucker off, burned at the stake. Fucking strapped it, cuffed and shackled that son of a bitch up on a stick and lit his fucking ass on fire. Fuck it. Why not? You know what I mean? What's wrong with that? If it's bad enough to go to jail, to me, if it's bad enough to go to jail for, then it's bad enough to put you in the ground. All this other shit that people go to jail for, fucking man, that's trivial. Very few people are jailed for something that I think is worth being jailed for, because what somebody should be jailed for, they could fucking go in the ground for.
No, absolute, absolute. Yeah, I think we over incarcerate people, man. Like I say, jail system ain't fixing shit. It ain't fixing the damn thing. It ain't rehabilitating people. Sometimes they send worse people back into place where they took them off the streets from. I mean, a
Well,
lot of shit
of
got to
course
be
they do.
changed.
There ain't no money. Yeah, there ain't no money in somebody doing something different. You know what I mean? When you got corporate inmate facilities, um, you've got jails that are in shares by stockholders. You know, somebody who's most likely to recommit a crime over and over and over again, those people are turned loose on not parole, probation. So that, because especially like a drug addict or something, they're gonna put them on probation over and over and over again, because most likely they're gonna continue to commit the same crime, and they're gonna get caught over and over and over again, and they'll keep funneling money into the system. There's some bitch that most likely ain't gonna commit a crime again or the same crime over and over again. They're gonna be put in jail. Why are they gonna be put in jail? So that they can be fucking institutionalized, so that when they come out, they'll commit a crime, because now they've been indoctrinated to, they're not worth anything other than that 8x12, and so after being institutionalized and indoctrinated by virtue of a freaking cage you've been kept in for a year or 2 or 4, whatever it is, and then I always hire, when I hire somebody to work for me, I hire inmates, and I try to get them to think abstractly, and it's hard. It is hard. Somebody been in jail for 4 years, uh, you know, I couldn't even imagine to be out in what most people would consider the free world, which is just a fucking bigger cage, and go up to another man and say, "Hey, boss, you mind if I go to the bathroom?" Well, fucker, why you ask me that shit? You just go to the bathroom. You ain't got to fucking tell me you're going anywhere. And I finally understood, where they come from. I mean, fuck, that's the life that they had to live, and they was in this cage. Now to me, they're in a bigger cage, but they're out free, but they don't know what to do. I hired a guy one time, and he ended up being my project manager for a while, and he was a guru when it came to like concrete and cement, and structural things made out of concrete or cement, and so I took on some small projects because I didn't know how well versed he was in it at first, just little retaining walls and stuff like that. And so we're out there working on a job. It's just me and him. And he says, "Well, what do you think we should do?" I said, "Well, what do you think we should do?" He says, "Well, I don't know." I said, "You was superintendent for the biggest goddamn concrete company in San Antonio, and you gonna tell me that fucking you don't know what to do? Well, this is how they would have told me to do it." Wait a minute, no, nobody's telling you shit anymore. The only reason I took this job because I don't know fuck all, and you're a fucking goddamn guru. So you tell me how to do it. And so you can slowly see his mindset start to change. I quit saying, I quit giving orders. Yes, I started asking questions. Well, how do you do this? I don't know. How do you do it? Well, I think maybe we should do this. Okay, sounds good to me. Anyways, yeah, I, I think that a lot of the world is fucked off. Uh, it's everything's been created for people to fail. The ones that fail are not the exception; it's the rule, and fucking uh, and the exceptions, the ones that haven't failed in that sense. I think that for a lot of time we're just the lucky ones. The percentage. Most people commit 3, 4, 5 felonies a day, don't even know they're doing it. Don't even know, I mean, there's felonies that doggone contradict other felonies, and it's just, there's only one reason anything was freaking set up like that, and you can't convince me it was a fucking good one.
No, absolutely.
But
yeah, shit.
Man, I'm gonna sign off this subject. It's been a heck of a deal, man. I always enjoy having these conversations with you, Reggie.
Hell yeah, got to keep having them, bro. Yeah, that went by quick. That 2 hours, 30 minutes, man.
Bet. Man, that long? We've been sitting here jacking our jaws.
Well, yeah, you got the time up there, right above us.
Oh, I'll be damned. Good Lord.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm telling you, man, you get.
I don't think anybody hung in there except for you and me.
Yeah, but no. The more you do it, the more you do it, YouTube will start sending out notifications. But people will come through and find the videos and watch them. That's just like the first video we did. I think we got about 70 something, 80 something, close to about 80 something. So that's very good shit for a first video. And then people come through and watch this.
Oh, wow.
So and also you'll put the you'll put your titles in there. You can go in there and put what's that shit called, tags in there. You put tags in there, which kind of will help people to find if they're searching for something, because it's billions of people on this YouTube shit. So, but the more you do it, and the time you'll run through long live streams very easy. Like, but yeah, no, this is a good one, bro. And also add a description. Also add a description in there. You'll see as you end it. Once you go back into your YouTube channel, you can go into your studios. You can add a description, and that helps YouTube to push it as well.
All right. But hey, freaking, I'd have these talks with you on the phone, even if nobody else wanted to listen. But I'm glad people do. I wish we get more people together to have these visits. I wish we lived closer so we could sit down and have a group of, whether you call them enlightened or educated or intellectual men, sit down together and converse and discuss things. That's one way to change things, is open discussion amongst intellectuals, those that have the propensity for abstract thought.
Absolute. And that's the other thing you can do in the chat. What's that? The same way you send the link in the invite, you can copy that tag, what's that shit called? Copy the thing, the link. You can copy the link, go over to where the comments is, paste it and push paste in comments, and it'll allow for people who are tuning in to click the link, and you can add them into the stream to join the conversation. So that's how you invite people in.
All right. Okay. Well, then next time, Jesus, tell all your friends. I'm gonna put that in there. Everybody's invited to add something. Just be respectful of everybody else's opinions. That's all I ask. You don't have to like it. You ain't got to agree with it. Whatever. Just respect it, and that's it.
Yes, sir. So we'll try it on the next one, man. Just let me know whenever you're ready.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I'd like to do one every week, but man, look, if we had 52-hour days, I don't know if I could get all my work done.
That's hard work. Busy man.
I didn't always have this gray in my beard.
Hey, wisdom. It's part of wisdom, like they say.
Yeah. I'm sure I look studious and astute. Let me give me a pair of bifocals, fucking start wearing suspenders.
Real shit. But bro, that's all I
man.
got,
Well,
man.
I'll check you out. It'll probably be a week or two, anyways, and let's get back together and we'll get everybody involved in this.
Yes, sir. Man, we gotta get Jo and all the mother cats on there. I was telling them we be on here doing the YouTube, so have a old reunion on this mug.
Yeah, what did Jo have to say about that?
Oh man, he was tripping off of it, man. And I should have called you when we linked up, but man, I was so happy to see him, man. I ain't seen him. It's been over 20 fucking years, man. I was like tripping off of that shit. And then put the video on Instagram. Everybody else is tripping on it from 212 as well. It's like, man, like we gotta reunite, man, on some real shit. On some real shit. Cause I didn't even know he was back in the country. Because I remember when he retired, he ended up going over to Germany and all that stuff. So he said he didn't get back here till like November. So he barely got back to the United States. And he was like, when he landed out here, because one of his relatives having a wedding, and he was like, man, are you in Vegas? And I'm like, yeah, like when you coming down? He's like, man, I'm out here. I'm like, oh shit. And it was where I work at, one of the locations I'm at is near where they at. I said, man, I'm about to pull up over there, man. He's like, man, I was happy as hell to see the dude, man.
Hell yeah. Well, I'm glad y'all got to get a good visit. Yeah, we need to get him in on it. See what is he still? Where's he at now? Did he go back to Jersey or what?
He said he here the Sunday. I'm gonna see if they ain't got shit going tomorrow. If they got a little downtime, to try to get over there because it's so short notice. Like I can't even cut because spring break just started with the kids and shit. So if they got a like downtime or something, I'll just go down there for a hot second to say what's up to them. Bring the kids. Matter of fact, I'll try to get them on like the live so other everybody else if they own they can hop on and we can all talk with each other and shit.
No, I mean, did he move? I know he went to Germany, but did he move back to the States? Did he?
Oh yeah,
I don't know
if
y'all even discussed it.
Yeah, he said back in the town that he from, back in New Jersey.
Oh, in New Jersey. All right.
Yeah.
Well, hey, I don't know how long he's been here, but I mean, let's see. I guess it was 3 years ago. Oh, it's probably 4 years ago now. I was up there. I stayed in New Jersey, but and I just traveled to New York every day. Well, I originally went up there because I wanted to see Avenue Q, and I couldn't find it playing anywhere else in the continental United States. So it was playing in New York. So I went up there to watch it and stayed 3 or 4 days. Me and the Naked Cowboy over there in Manhattan, we became pretty good friends.
Oh, that crazy fool in the underwear and shit playing the guitar.
That's the one. As it all turns out, he was neither naked nor was he a cowboy. He's originally from Ohio, and his wife is Mexican. So you figure it out. But I took him and his wife out to supper, and we had a good time. And anyways, he'll do just about anything to act an ass out there, and just needle anybody that happens to be walking by if he could strike a nerve. And I find that very comical as well as inspiring. So I'm gonna try to find this picture of me and him together. I got it on here somewhere. I'll flash it on the screen. If I can find the damn thing.
Yeah. Oh, what? Oh, you said this was 3 years ago. You was out there. I'm trying to think who was
3 years ago.
Who in the unit?
3 or 4 years ago.
I'm trying to think who out there. I think Fontaine and them might still be in New York. And then who else is out there? Somebody else out there from New York that was from the unit.
I'm trying to think of who it was, because Adams was from Louisiana, right?
Yeah, Adams from Louisiana. Matter of fact, who was you remember the it was a tank commander that was on the tank with Smitty and Sergeant Collins and Ferris was from New York. Motherfucking what's his name? Perez or some shit. You know
That
what I'm
would have
talking
been
about?
with Collins. You talking about Bob Collins?
Yeah.
The
Collins did stutter like a motherfucker. It was the gunner on this tank.
Well, I was
One
on. I
sergeant.
was there with Collins, and it was Jordan, Collins, me, and
maybe
I think it was Ramirez.
Was it a regular E5, the short dude, right?
The short dude. We talking about tankers. Everybody was short, but you and me.
It was a man. I can't think his name. I remember I was gonna fight that motherfucker. Well, was it him? Yeah, I was gonna fight that motherfucker. He got to talking shit. I forgot. Matter of fact, I think it was because of they used to talk way out to Smitty and them and shit. And I said something to one of the motherfuckers, and he tried to pop off on some shit. Cause you know, I used to look young, so they didn't know I had that other side to me. I ended up going off on that motherfucker. The motherfucker was lightweight scared of me. And it was another sergeant out there who I punked up. We make it. He up there when Trinidad about to fight fucking Fernando Vargas. And we making a bet or some shit. We making a bet on the fight because I think he was Mexican and I'm going for Trinidad and shit. And he going for Fernando Vargas. And we like talking about putting bets up. Cause we on the detail, matter of fact, we on the guard. Matter of fact, we on the guard duty at the motherfucking trash dump. Fort Hood had that trash dump. We on the detail out there for some shit.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And we making his bet. And he said some old shit like he threatened me, like, I ain't paying you shit if Vargas lose, but you gonna pay me my money if something. I said, man, you got me fucked up. And I get up off of where I was sitting down. I think I was sitting in one of like them little truck things, the new, not the deuce and a half, but the other new box trucks that they came out with. I get up out of that shit and walk up on him and press him like, motherfucker, you gonna give me my money if he what I say, if he win or lose. And I was like, man, because otherwise we can fight right here. It's like I'll beat you the fuck up out here. I don't give a fuck if you a sergeant or what you is. And we seen that side of me. He ended up turning into a bitch and he tried to act like he want to be my friend and shit. Like, nah, you ain't gonna play me on no shit because I look young that you gonna think that I'm some punk and shit. It's like, hell no. But I can't think it was that. I can't think of that sergeant. I think his name, maybe his name was Ramirez. I ought to ask Smitty what's that sergeant they had on their tank. But matter of fact, Jordan was on that, so it wasn't who tank was Smitty on? No, because Jordan was on that. Wait, because Jordan was on. No, go ahead.
Yeah, he was with Collins. He and me and Ramirez, I think. But I was over there. You talking about was it Medina, that short little dude, or
no, not that.
He was an E5 or what?
This was an E5, and I think because Smitty used to be on a tank. I think this is before Jordan. I think Jordan may have got moved over.
Was it Johnny Abenavega?
Vega. That's who
was it. Abenavega?
Yeah, Vega. Yeah,
I just seen him the other day.
Vega. That's who the fuck it is. I would have never guessed that damn
I found
name
that picture. So.
Oh yeah, crazy motherfucker, man.
But
out there on
yeah, I see Vega the other day. He come to the damn. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was saying y'all on Times Square and shit.
Oh yeah, over there. Yeah, we had big time.
Yes. When you seen Vega?
I seen him at the reunion that they had the other day down here in Seguin.
Oh, okay. He live out there still, or he came from New York?
I don't know where he's living now, but he works for like General Dynamics or Raytheon or something like, you know what I mean? So he's still dicking around on tanks. I told him, I said, Ricky, you ought to be ashamed of yourself. I'd be embarrassed if all I ever knew was them goddamn fucking tanks my entire life. Never fucking learned nothing else.
Shit.
I
They
mean,
paying the
fuck.
motherfuckers though.
Oh yeah, they getting paid, fucking. But you know what's that word? Fucking. I I don't know nothing but the goddamn M1 fucking Abrams and all the fucking subclasses of tank. That's all I know my entire life. Fucking, I could barely piss standing up, but I know them fucking tanks. Shit, fucking what kind of knowledge you gonna pass on to your kids? Hey, fucking, firing commands. Fuck off. Give me a break.
Oh shit. Goddamn Vega. That's who that motherfucker was. Vega. Man, I wish I could have went to that shit.
Yeah, I guess they have it every year about springtime over at Seguin. They've been having it for years, but I didn't know nothing about it. Seguin, hell, it ain't but 23 miles from my gate to the fucking town, and they've been doing that shit right up under my nose all this time. You know.
They were trying to keep it secret from you.
Oh yeah, yeah. They didn't want me to show up. Fucking start talking shit. I guess. Yeah. Fucking. I mean,
What they say? What they
now
say
we
when
ain't
they
in the
saw you?
army. You know. Oh, hey, Texas, Tex, it was kind of like, hey, good to see you, but at the same time, it's kind of like, shit, I hope he don't say nothing about me. You know, because I'm gonna mouth off, and we ain't in the army. Now there ain't no damn fucking rank structure. I ain't gotta worry about no goddamn Article 15s, loss of rank, loss of pay. I'm gonna run my fucking head. Uh, fuck. But the biggest clowns uh of that unit, I mean they don't show up. You know, uh who else was from New York? Oh man, it just struck me. Motherfucking Comstock. Comstock was from New York. I bet you he's still up
Yeah,
there too. You know the one. He had them teeth
yeah,
on
with the
top of
fucked
teeth.
up teeth.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, and I forgot somebody was slapping the fuck out of Comstock, man. Somebody used to be beating. Matter of fact, I heard he died or some shit. Somebody told me he
No, he
got
didn't.
killed in some.
Well, I don't know if he died. I don't know if he died or not, but when I still had the Facebook, he was alive and well. Because he done looked me up. Freaking want to be my Facebook friend? Okay, go on ahead. The last time I seen him, the motherfucker was a night stalker over at Walmart. Uh,
Yeah, he did that
yeah,
volunteer firefighting shit
that's
too.
fuck, man. I guess because that some bitch just want to drive fast. Well, you remember he got all fucked up and goddamn took a car on a test drive and flipped it over there, that Mustang over there on the other side of Fort Hood there. Fucking idiot. Uh,
No,
but oh yeah, I used to slap the dog shit out of. They put that motherfucker on Collins tank, and I was there. And Collins, talk about somebody wake up, somebody wake up Comstock, and so hey, wake up, kid, wake up, fucking. So I slapped the dog shit. I lift him up like this here, and fucking. I mean, and not just no kind of fucking backhand. I'm talking about a Jim Crow backhand, papa, and then come the other way. You know what I mean? And the son bitch, he just like I guess he just I envy him in the fact he had that much control over his body. That motherfucker was getting the dog shit slapped out of, and he just fucking pretend he's still asleep. Taking them fucking slaps like a champ, dude.
man, I used to feel bad for that dude, man. He couldn't defend himself for shit with them fucked up teeth, man. Man, but yeah, I heard he. I forgot somebody told me he died and shit in the Was it a fucking accident or something? I know he was doing that volunteer firefighting. He might have died in the fire or some shit. Yeah,
Well,
he
I
died.
doubt
I
that. I
think.
mean, if he was volunteer fire department, You know, the only reason them motherfuckers volunteer for the fire department is because they're idiots and they want to have lights and fucking drive fast. That's the only fucking, I never met nobody on volunteer fire department who wanted to stay late and wash hoses and fucking do all the maintenance shit. They just want to have the lights on the truck and drive fast. That's it.
Y'all crazy. But yeah, I think that's what happened to that crazy
You know damn
motherfucker,
good well
man.
his type.
Yeah, I forgot about Comstock, man. You bringing up some names like a motherfucker, man. Vega, Comstock. Damn. But no, I didn't know Comstock did that shit to the car. I know he was a stupid motherfucker though.
Oh yeah. What was that dude's name? Talent. So Talent, the first time I remember seeing him,
oh, the fat dude.
We was all
Talent,
in battalion
dude,
formation. Right? Yeah, he was from Hawaii, fat dude. Not like Samoan fat, like white dude, freaking pudgy fat. Just can't really claim native status, but he try. The first time I remember seeing was battalion formation, and that's when they was giving us this big, the big counseling session over them motherfuckers dragging that girl in there and running the freaking battalion train on the girl. You remember?
Yeah, that sergeant got caught. I was in Bravo Company when that shit happened.
Yeah. Yeah, staff duty freaking was called to go check it out by the girl's boyfriend, who she done called to tell him, what all was going on. And so he finds out, calls staff duty goes over and check it out, but at ease, freaking everybody's looking guilty as fuck. And it was that retarded motherfucker from Delta talking about fucking, oh, don't mind me. I'm just here to get my dick sucked, and then fucking, and so there wasn't no reaction from staff duty. So this motherfucker called the goddamn MPs, and the MPs go over there and break up the fucking deal. As a matter of fact, I want to talk to Jordan because, he always, he was the NCO and he was one way, but you knew, like that motherfucker always have one foot in the streets, right? Fucking, he knew what was up and he could get whatever you wanted. So after we had that deal, I was like, Jordan, I said, look, don't play with me. Let me see the video. He's like, man, I don't know what you're talking about. Hey, Gafford, look, fucking, hey, don't play. And he's like, all right, check it out. Hey, meet me at my barracks room at lunch.
Oh shit! Because I told people about that story on this mug, man, when they did that shit. The girl boyfriend, and he stayed with the chick too, didn't he? The dude, because I know the dude.
Man, I don't know. All I know, it was Donnie. Not Donnie. His last name was Bear, and I don't remember if he was Bravo or Delta. You might remember, but Bear. He was a skinny white dude with like a little wispy mustache. I mean, goofy as a pet turd. And
Bear was in Delta Company. He was in Delta.
All right, so after we had that battalion, counseling session, that motherfucker was kind of standing by himself, looking guilty or something. So I eased up over. I said, man, what kind of mischief you been into? Is this all you're fucking doing? Is this why we done stayed late? And he's like, well, yeah. I said, well, break it down then. What the fuck? What happened? So this somebody says that fucking, he was out at the club and, somebody was passing out flyers for this old rave party in some house over there outside of Kalina Harker High School. And he goes over there. He said, this bitch is all fucked up on Quaaludes and hash. Probably has something else to drink and pop to go with it or whatever. So anyways, he got her gathered pretty quick and hauled her over to the barracks. And so he was in there fucking wilding out and fucking, being a great American, and he said, well, what do you like? And her response was, you got any friends? And he said, don't move a muscle. I'll be right back. And he knocked on every door in the freaking battalion barracks, and they was lined up and down the motherfucking stairs on the stack. Hey, you should have seen that video, dude. This dude, he's like he's doing it's like the Blair Witch Project. You know what I mean? It's not real good videography. But you know, he's kind of going up and down the stairs, congratulating everybody, people giving high fives. Somebody, you know, every stack got a cooler. You know what I mean? There's a cooler sitting out there on the damn landing. You know, hey, you want a beer? Yeah, you know, throw one up. And they just having a big time and just wearing out this poor old gal. And so I said, well, I said, Bear, I said, how her boyfriend find out about all this? He said, well, you know, she was kind of mad at him and out of sorts with the motherfucker. So she called him up. I said, what? He said, yeah, she borrowed my phone and called him up. I said, well, what'd she say? And his response was, fuck you. I've got all the men I'll ever need. Hey, isn't it somebody's turn to fuck me in the ass now? That's what got the fucking cops called, by the way. You know,
Oh, that bitch.
yeah, it's just. Yeah.
Oh man, that bitch foul as fuck. Because I told the story. I didn't know the details to the story like that, but I remember that sergeant who was in my unit. I remember they was taking people out in their fucking drawers. It was like an early Saturday. They were like, because they was waking everybody up in the barracks, like, man, they had CID and all that shit, like, man, because they was calling the FBI. Man, the FBI out here, man, they dragging these people out. They didn't give them time to dress. They drug them out early. And then because the sergeant was a staff sergeant living in the barracks. He was in on that shit. They come to bring him out in them brown drawers and shit, taking him to the damn MP station. I was like, wow, what the fuck was they doing? I didn't know that shit was that wild, but I heard they was running through her ass.
Yeah. Oh man, I wasn't there. You know, I just seen it through the video that was procured. You know, from one of them guys. And I get, you know, I'm sure if they probably asked about the video and fucking that shit was fucking hid. You know, that shit was under lock and key and hid good. So that the CID and the MPs and shit didn't gather it. You know, because you know somebody got to keep record of that shit. But yeah, I guess they was they was all just pouring the coals to her, you know, freaking I can't believe that cat on staff duty staff duty because it was battalion staff duty, that retarded guy. He was kind of fat. Oh, I wish I could remember his name. He had dark hair, and no matter how much he shaved, he looked like he still needed a shave, and his hair was kind of thinning, and man, he talked like he was retarded. He had this big old nose, and oh man, I think he was a Bravo E6 because anyway, I was
Yeah, that's the sergeant I'm talking about. That's who they brought out in his drawers. Him. His name was, because I remember I had to check that fool. It was him. It was
yeah, that's
that
right.
fool they
Because
brought out in his
the
drawers.
motherfucker was incompetent. Yeah, because he was incompetent as fuck. You know, he couldn't take care of himself. I don't know how the fuck he got any stripes on his shoulder because that dude, you know, was dumb as a fucking box of rocks. You know, I mean, he couldn't construct a sentence. I don't know. Anyways, but I was talking to oh, what's his name? The drummer. It was fuck, he was E4. He came from Germany. I got his phone number. I got you.
Wait,
It's
how we look?
he was Mexican. He was from Pecos. Pecos,
Oh, was he a
Texas.
medic? Was he the medic?
No, he wasn't I don't know. I don't think he was a medic. Uh he was a tanker. He was in Alpha Company.
No,
Oh,
no,
what
no.
was
I
his
was about to
name?
say. I was gonna say Ramirez, not Ramirez.
Um I I don't remember. I have a hard time with names here lately. I don't know what the deal is. Probably drinking out of one of them tin cups that they give us in the army. Probably fucked off my brain. But he came to a PR event I was doing for the Cowboy Breakfast down here in San Antonio because he still live in Coppers Cove. I mean, I don't know what the fuck. I mean, I don't Pecos ain't no better, but not Coppers Cove. Anyways, he come down for the event. He was like playing music in Austin and stuff. And I was reminiscing about that story. And he was laughing. He said, man, look, he said, over in Germany, being right there by all them countries and stuff where drugs is kind of, not necessarily legal, but ain't necessarily illegal either. I was just, he said, I was partying all the time and he said it was just a bad life. So, I kept putting in for a transfer because I couldn't stop myself. I had to go to another unit because that was a bad environment. It's just too easily accessible. He said, and then they sent me to Alpha Company 212. He said, fuck it. He said, I thought that I was living wild. And then, he said, fuck it. I don't know why the mascot was Mad Dogs. He said it should have just been the animals, Alpha Company animals. He said, look, he said,
hey, 212 was a
he
crazy
said, how you gonna lose?
Unit, man.
Yeah, he said, how you gonna lose a quarter of your personnel due to a failure analysis? What I mean?
Man, I be telling people on here about the unit, man. 212 was an unusual fucking arm unit. Remember the cook in prison for fucking murder? We gotta cook them committed murder, motherfucker, big time dope dealer. Church, you remember Church ass? Yeah. Hey, but the story, man, about that sergeant you was talking about, the one they carried in his drawers. It was one day these fools, because I think Bear was the one who told on Martin, because Martin ended up breaking in their room trying to take all their shit when we, everybody gone for Christmas Exodus and shit. And Martin going up in there, not knowing that people were there. Martin's those janky motherfucker, man. That's my boy. He take all this dude's shit and they walking out with this dude's shit. Old dude getting ready to go to the chow hall. He see Martin, and Martin turned around, was like, man, you better not say a motherfucking thing. I'm gonna put his shit back. Later that night, one of the cats Smitty grew up with, who used to hang with us from another unit, while we all at the club, late at night, that motherfucker go back over there and steal all that shit. He stole all this shit, took it way over down to their unit, like HHC or some shit down the road. So he took all this shit. We at the club, so when they come back from Christmas Exodus, old dude come in his room, all this shit going. He had like high-tech equipment. So they doing the court martial shit for Martin. And they got me supposed to go to court martial shit. I ain't got that damn you gotta wear the dress uniform. When I first got the Fort Hood, I threw that dress uniform in the dumpster. Cause I'm like, I ain't never wearing this shit. And I tossed it in the dumpster and shit. So fucking during the court shit, they like, we got to come to speak on Martin's behalf, because we witnesses for him because he at the club with us. And then so I can't go to court because all I got BDUs. I'm like, I ain't about to buy that uniform. So I say, fuck it. I stay up in there. I was like, fuck it. This gonna be a day off. Cause around that time is where I wasn't going to work. I do PT, morning formation, and then I sneak out the motor pool and be up back in the barracks. So when that shit was going on with the court, I was just like, if I ain't there, my mindset, I'm thinking they just gonna skip me, go to the next person. It stopped the whole court proceeding. So I'm up in the room watching a TV match. I'm watching TV. Did I have a TV? I might have been on JO side watching TV and shit. And fucking, I hear knocking at the door. I say, oh shit. I'm like, man, what the fuck? I'm like, who knocking at the door? It's fucking one of the sergeants from Bravo Company, because I'm roommates with JO, so they can't get in the room. It's the sergeant. It's the sergeant dude who got caught up with the who he's talking about on staff duty, get caught up with the girls. So it's him knocking on the door. I said, oh fuck, now I'm tripping. I'm up here panicking, thinking he gonna have a key. Lucky, because I'm in Alpha Barracks, he ain't got a key. Because the court called the unit and shit looking for me to tell them I fucked up and they had to shut the whole court proceeding shit down. So fucking, I'm like, damn, I'm panicking. I'm looking like, damn, is he gonna leave? I'm like, I can't go out the door. He probably just waiting down by the stairs. So I'm like, fuck it, I'm gonna chill. And I'm trying to think what I'm gonna do. Man, about 15 minutes later, I hear knocking at the door again. calling my name before they enter. I hear keys. I say, oh fuck. I'm up there scrambling. First, I was about to jump in the closet, but I'm like, damn, it's gonna be unlocked. They're gonna look in here, find my ass. I slide right under my bed as they fucking got the key going in the motherfucking the little boat lock shit. And I'm like under the bed and shit. Stiff as a motherfucker. It's the one sergeant, the sergeant who came in there is the other sergeant. I think he caught cancer and shit. He was a chubbier dude. We used to wear glasses and shit. And so he come up in there and I'm hiding up on that bed, stiff as fuck. But I can see him as they walk on J.O.'s side. I can see from under the bed and walk over there. I say, man, they gonna come over here and lift this fucking bed up. And I'm like, I'm getting kicked out this motherfucker today. I'm in this bitch quiet. I hear they go in the closet because I ain't got it locked. They look in there, they don't see me in there. They touch the TV. They don't feel the TV on my side. So that because they know it's J.O.'s side. So they like, no, he ain't in here. And then fucking they do this shit. I see them do this shit. Like just take, he don't look under, they just take their hands, do this shit. And I'm like, fuck, I'm like, they see me in my mind. I'm like, they see me. I'm in that bitch sweating. I'm like, they about to lift these mattresses up. And next thing you know, they walk out. And I'm like, I'm still ain't buying that shit. I'm like, they sitting at the fucking door waiting for me to walk out. They saw me. I said, ain't no way they ain't fucking see me. Man, I'm under that bitch for like 30 minutes. Next thing you know, I hear the door again. I'm panicking. I'm like, oh shit. It's fucking J.O. I think like Smitty or whoever else is there. So they come up in that motherfucker. And I'm waiting to see that door. When I hear the door close, J.O. and them go on their side. They end up watching, like talking. And then I roll from the bed. Hey, motherfuckers. Hey, man. J.O. and them like, man, you stupid motherfucker, man. What the fuck you doing? Like, man, you supposed to be in court. I said, I know, man. They just came up in here. I'm like, they tell me what's going on. And I made up a swift ass motherfucking little plot. I left from out of there after I asked them if they can go make sure nobody down there. I made that walk from the barracks to the motor pool just to walk through the motor pool so someone can see me. And I walk all the way back to the company headquarters. And I walk in there like, oh, I heard y'all was looking for me, man. I've been in the motor pool. This how fucking unorganized these motherfuckers was. Y'all was looking for me. I was down the motor pool, woo woo. And it's like, yeah, they were been looking, da 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 da. So one day we in the field. We go to like a gunnery or some shit. We in the field. And I used to have this lieutenant who I used to not get along. I couldn't stand this fucking lieutenant. And I don't got all my shit. Cause you know how they steal shit when you washing them in them fucking washing machines. You don't watch it, your shit gone.
Yeah.
So they doing a stupid ass field inspection, TA-50 and all that shit. And I'm missing a bunch of shit. And so they talking shit. And I used to always talk back to that lieutenant. Like, man, what I said, well, yeah, whatever. I ain't got the shit. What you gonna want to go to PX so I can go buy it? Like, so I'm saying all type of smart shit because I ain't like it. So that sergeant dude, he say something. And this is before, I think when I said this to that sergeant, this is before that thing with the girl happened. So he's saying some shit. And I said, hold on, whatever his name. I said, you I said, first of all, I ain't even talking to you, but since you want to get involved in this, how about I turn in where you and the sergeant from Alpha Company in my room going through my stuff. And I said, yeah, I got you on my camera for my computer because I had a computer where I used to burn music and shit. I was like, yeah, I got you on my computer up there going through my stuff, and I got stuff missing. So I'm like, how about I turn this stuff in and have them look into it? Since you want to talk, I'll turn this video in. And he shut up immediately, but he not knowing I'm been under the bed the whole time. Like, fool, y'all wanted to get me kicked up out here that bed if I've been out this damn morning. But this dude's an idiot, man. But then some months later, he'll get caught up in that shit with that girl, man.
Yeah.
Man, there was some good times in that motherfucker. That's why I want us to get all on this mug.
Yeah, hell yeah. Man, I wish I could remember that cat's name. I think I was on extra duty with him when I whooped fucking Sergeant Weitzel when he was acting first sergeant. Fucking when I came back from Bosnia. I was on torch bar to come back before the rest of everybody, and so that's when I met you when you came in, and I was there at the unit already before the main party got back.
Right.
Now I would watch on front of fucking PT formation. He walk around with black eye for a while. Fucking, I got extra duty and shit, and fucking.
Yeah, crazy as fuck.
Anyways, I was on extra duty with this cat. I don't remember what he had extra duty for, but he was from Houston. He was real bright, had like real light colored eyes. Black dude, but
that's
man, I
Forge.
wish I could remember his name.
He had the golds in his mouth, right?
Forge, yes.
That's Forge, yeah.
Yes. Man, that motherfucker was cool as a fan. He says, hey, Gaffer, he says, hey, let's go out to the club tonight. I said, why? What's going on? He said, oh, no. He said, I just kick back, have a few drinks, wait for a fight to break out. First motherfucker go down, I'm grabbing chains. I said, what? He said, how do you think I fund my fucking lifestyle? Fucking ain't all good old goddamn E1 salary, that's for sure. Yeah.
That motherfucker left there as an
And
E1.
I said, all right,
that's because he kept smoking weed.
He let's see what's going on. Yeah, him and Scipio. Scipio was the worst one. Matter of fact, fucking
them motherfuckers had Snoop Dogg weed habits in the army.
Yeah. And so like he was smoking weed and he was on extra duty behind all that bullshit and fucking, and he's in motherfucking finance. S1 or PAC, whatever the hell little office he worked in over there, and all he do is smoke weed all the time. Fucking, and then he get the Article 15 and fucking, so he get thrown out the army because he fell back to back or fucking three-peat to fucking urinalysis, whatever it was. They throw his ass out. Now Griffin, he left too. He was caught up in some shit. He left out the army at E1. And so I ETS before Griffin. Griffin said motherfucking Scipio come back to fucking First Cavalry, had done been kicked out, gone back to basic training and motherfucking whatever, and fucking come back to First Cav Division. What the fuck?
Yep. Hey, Scipio used to be, man, Scipio used to not give a fuck, man. Scipio used to he wake up and grab his uniform off the ground and put that shit on and be high as fuck. Man, we had when they moved me to headquarters, man, we had this other motherfucker. This dude name was Alicon. I never forget his name, man. Alicon was one of the laziest motherfuckers I ever met. We go from in the morning, he be lazy as fuck, don't do shit. And then when we come back from lunch, this motherfucker be working nonstop. I mean, he be doing still. He would sweep dirt in the middle of the lines, how they line the trucks up, be working like a motherfucker, just doing crazy shit. He be doing crackhead shit. I'm like, what the fuck? Like how this lazy motherfucker all the time was routine. He come from lunch, this motherfucker working his ass off. One day we out in the fucking field and fucking I gotta go take a shit or something. Someone out in the motherfucking middle of the field through the woods, go and take a shit. This fool out there in the area I'm going in snorting coke. This fool out there getting high as fuck and smoking weed behind that shit. And I was like, what the fuck? He later get caught. He later get caught on one of your analysis with all sorts of drugs in the system and shit. Man, that's the crazy shit, 212, man. That's because the funny shit was when I was leaving and shit, and I had all the people from my neighborhood and they congratulated. I remember my neighbor was like, man, you're gonna gain so much discipline, man, from the military and this and that. Like, so when I get the full hood seeing all this shit people was having, like, I like, man, people don't know shit of what they talk about with the army, man. I'm like, these motherfuckers crazy in here, man. Because remember, it was the rumor they had the undercovers in the unit. Man, the 212 was crazy as fuck, man. That shit was really for hood fit the name of the unit.
Oh yeah, no. Fort Hood. Yeah, no doubt. Man, fucking Scipio, this fucking clown. I rode with him in his car one day to the motor pool. And this motherfucker blowing out the fucking window, right? And I ain't paying no attention. I mean, I knew he was smoking the weed, but he smoked cigarettes too. I said, I said, "Hey, let me get a smoke for you." He said, "Oh yeah, yeah, no problem." And he handed to, and like I just fucking take it and like this here. I thought it was a cigarette, but it's weed, and I didn't puff on it. I just put it to my lips, and I go, "Here, you can have this back." I said, "Scipio, you got to quit being a fucking walking stereotype." He said, "What do you mean?" I said, "That fucking goddamn roach fucking tastes like Popeye's chicken. You didn't quit doing that fucking shit. You cannot be a fucking walking Scipio, what the fuck? Smoking weed, fucking, fucking give me the passing the blunt, fucking the goddamn car was like what, 3 different colors of primer, you know what I mean? Fucking hey.
Hey, Scipio didn't give a fuck, man. I don't know why Scipio got so hooked on
No.
weed and shit. Paris got like that too. Paris, man, I remember one day Paris and failed the piss test, and that motherfucker was Paris didn't give a fuck, man. Because when that truck, remember when Paris flipped over in the tank, when that truck flipped over, and they did that fuck shit with
Yeah.
him. Paris started smoking weed, and one day he felt it. This dude ain't getting a fuck. He up there talking about when they get the paper back, how high his THC level was. And he talking about he gonna get a higher level the next time you get a test. But that was even with Ford. Ford just telling him to test like a motherfucker too. But Ford had that first sergeant. Ford had that first sergeant that was looking out for him. And I don't know if you remember the one day Ford come back with stitches in his head and shit. You didn't hear about that story? Where he get his I don't know if it was his wife or his kid's mom. He ended up getting her one day. We coming from the field. We've been in the field for like 2 weeks in one of them long ass gunneries. I don't know if we was in the field for like 2 weeks or however long we was out there. And when we come back, it's his birthday and shit. So when we walking back to the barracks and shit, it's 2 girls waiting by the fucking stairs. His whoever, he got a kid with the girl and his ex-girlfriend. They used to not like each other. It was always butting heads because he fucking around with the other one and shit. So one day we walking up there, he think he in some shit like, what the fuck they here together? And he tripping like, but they ain't really tripping on each other. He like, damn, what the fuck I do type of shit. And they got flowers and drinking shit for him. And we like, oh shit, like this motherfucker about to go down. Like 2 girls, like what the fuck? We see Forrest the next fucking day. We see this fool the next day. He got that white bandage shit all wrapped around his head and shit. The way that motherfucking baby mom cracked him over the head with the bottle, that bottle that they had, man, because he fucking in there giving her some old weak pumps because he talking about he looking to get on with the ex-girlfriend who the baby mom been tripping on. He up there going to town on her. The baby mom get jealous, crack him over the head with the bottle, try to stab the other girl she came out there with. It was all bad. That motherfucker the next day with a white bandage over his head. He got a head full of stitches. I like, man, that shit, man. It was some 212 full of fucking stories, man, for decades, man.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
man, that shit too much
Oh
comedy in
shit.
there, man.
Oh yeah, I got some more like because what was it, 1-5 Cav over there? Those guys was just as bad. Because so yeah, when I
That
got back,
infantry unit, right?
1-5 had already wrote. What's that?
That infantry unit you talking about, right? 1-5, right next to
Yeah,
us.
so all them boys from 1-5 had rotated back, and they, now they back from Bosnia, and they got all this fucking hazardous duty pay and shit. There's been stacking up, and now they just gonna fucking wild out like fucking. There ain't no tomorrow. Fucking. I mean, it was like the day or the day after we come back, and dude, these clowns done fucking ordered pizza, and fucking the pizza guy come to deliver the shit, and I don't know something was wrong with the pizza man. I don't know, maybe it was just for fun. They snatched this motherfucker up because they had the old ghetto barracks, and fucking they tossed
Oh,
his
the
ass in a
projects.
wall locker come off. Yeah, the wall locker come off the 3rd floor into the fucking duck pond. I mean, just and those guys was out of fucking control. And there was all kind of crazy shit. Fucking
Hey, I heard the shit. Is it true about them fools beat up the? Remember that sergeant major they had? He was a. I think he went to. He the one y'all had when y'all came from Bosnia and shit. I had just barely got there. I was hearing the stories about somebody put one of the laundry bags over his head and beat him up. Is that shit true? I used to always hear that rumor
in,
about him
in,
getting
Bos-
fucked up.
in
Huh?
Bosnia or fucking back at
No, back when y'all first got back, he went to the unit across from us. It's like artillery unit. I don't know if he's talking shit to people over there, and they talking about somebody put the laundry bag over his
I'm
head, beat him up. I can't think of his name. He was a mean motherfucker.
oh yeah, okay. I can't remember his name either. But the motherfucker he was from like North Carolina or something, and he fucking talked like Arlie Ermy, fucking the drill
Full
sergeant and
Metal
fucking
Jacket.
or the drill instructor and fucking
Full Metal
uh
Jacket. Yeah.
Full Metal Jacket. Yeah, he was all fucking he was old and fucking wrinkled and goddamn crusty and gruff and shit. Hey, look, I don't know if that happened or not, but I fucking heard the same thing that they done fucking goddamn. I don't know how they fucking caught him up. If he was asleep in his office or fucking he decided, he wasn't gonna go home and he stayed in the fucking barracks. But that's why I heard they pulled a fucking kick door operation, fucking throw the pillowcase over that motherfucker's head, went to wearing his ass out.
Yeah, man, them motherfuckers crazy. Cause when I first got the night I got the Fort Hood was the day y'all man, it was him. He kept motherfuckers in the motor pool. Y'all just came from the wash rack and he was tripping about dirt being on the fucking ground and all that shit had to sweep. They having to reline the damn tanks up. We down in the damn headquarters late than a motherfucker. I didn't get a damn because me and Smitty was roommates. I didn't get a room until super late that fucking night. It was late than a mug, man. And y'all was out in the field or wherever y'all was coming from. And I'm like, damn, this is what it's like every time. And it was like, no, it was this motherfucker. And then I got to see how the sergeant major was. He was fucked up. Then they gave us even another, but Rocha wasn't as bad as that dude, but Rocha was fucked up too. I think they had to force Rocha up out of there
Yeah,
and shit.
Roach. Yeah, I remember Rocha fucking uh all that extra duty shit, whatnot was going on for all the drugs and shit. And fucking uh I noticed fucking Rocha all of a sudden now Clear Blue Sky now fucking battalion commander is giving the weekend briefing. It ain't fucking Rocha no more. I'm like, what the fuck's going on? So, anyways, I went in there to bullshit with Griffin and all them boys on fucking extra duty. Fucking day in there cleaning Sergeant Major's office. Fucking, I'm sitting in that motherfucker. I look over. There's all the paperwork on his desk for his motherfucking DWI. That's why he quit giving that goddamn safety briefing on the weekends.
That's probably why they forced his ass up
Fucking
out of there. Yeah, because I think they had to force his like immediate retirement or some shit. I think even at NTC or some shit when I think he's supposed to get out. See, I didn't know all that shit. They was covering up for his goddamn ass. That motherfucker's
Yep, hell
looking back
yeah.
at it, he looked like a damn drunk. A lot of them old fools who did all them 30 years and shit.
Hell yeah. And it was that the new sergeant major, was that the tall black dude, or was that that right? That replaced
No, I
Rocha?
wasn't there. No, Rocha was the Hispanic dude. The tall black dude was that
Yeah,
gay
yeah.
lieutenant. They used to call what's the gay dude used to be? They
No,
used to
no,
call
not
him what they call that tall gay black dude? I forget that fool name. But no, I wasn't there for no black. Oh,
I don't
wait, did
remember.
we did have a black sergeant major. I forgot about that shit.
Right,
I
yeah,
can't
right
remember
before
his name.
IETS, he replaced Rocha.
Yeah, he was a bald head
But
dude.
I remember, yeah. And he was given the safety briefing and he was, talking to because we had the whole damn fucking quarter of the fucking battalion fell on the fucking 100% urinalysis. And he's sitting up there trying to encourage motherfucker talk about, there's a lot of people that get that get Article 15s. Look at Sergeant Major. Sergeant Major done had Article 15, smoking weed, and fucking I'd be looking over at fucking Scipio, And then Scipio get thrown out, and then he's back.
Man, hey, I was tripping when I heard Scipio back in the military and shit. That shit, the Army didn't want to put people out, man. The Army was getting people chances, man. Especially if Scipio and Forge failed all them urinalysis tests, man. I was like, man, that shit was comedy looking back on that shit. Cause I always think back to when my neighbor told me that shit, man. You don't get so much discipline, man. You're gonna be standing up straight, man, disciplined. Cause I used to be militant as fuck. Everybody thought I was militant and shit. They used to think I was like a Black Panther and shit.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going in there, man, seeing like people smoking drugs and failing drug tests. Then we used to do PT, how everybody got liquor coming out their pores, drunk, doing wild shit. I was like, man, this shit way the fuck out. Or even the fights they used to have, man. They used to fight like a motherfucker in them clubs on base. I was like, man, this shit is really the hood, man. Like, what the fuck? Man, motherfucking Army crazy, man.
Yeah. Hey, you remember Sergeant Wallet?
That name sound familiar as fuck. You ain't got a picture of him, huh?
He was
that
he
name
was
familiar.
the gunner. He was E5. He was he had gone to PLDC or whatever. He got his E5, but he was the gunner on old Corky Brooks tank. Sergeant Brooks, I'm Sergeant Brooks, that guy.
Yeah. And I'm trying to picture the damn gunner.
He was tall. He was tall and like, I don't know, he wasn't Black, but he wasn't white. He might have been some kind of Indian or Persian or so. I don't know. He was from I think he was from California. His wife was in the Army too. Anyways,
he was kind of tall,
this
right?
motherfucker right here.
He was kind of tall, right? I know exactly what you're talking about now. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, his wife was in the Army, and they got orders to go to Germany, and they scrambled. But so at the reunion, not this year but last year, his wife show up over at the reunion, right? And where's he? And so I said, hey, Christine, where's Pete? And then so what's his name? Culpepper was there. They called him off. Oh, fat fuck. The motherfucker, like he was in the first Gulf War, right? But he was the E4 because he would fail urinalysis and work his way back up. And then, anyways, he could never get to the E5 after all them years. But he would be out there in the uniform fucking inspection or whatever. And this motherfucker got original Gulf War shit, fucking all this shit down here, looking like some kind of general or something, fucking. And
he was kind of chubby.
So,
right?
anyways, Culpepper was there at the reunion. I said, hey, Christine, where's Pete? And she just kind of looked at me, and then Culpepper, he's like, saying, and I said, well, what's the deal? He said, man, Pete, he kind of took a bad turn for the worse. He was calling a lot of people, in the old unit, asking for help and all this and that. And he was, just squandering all the help everybody tried to help him with. And he's homeless over there in Houston. I said, really?
Wow.
He said, yeah. Well, fucking now, as chance will have it, I'm talking to Griffin, right? And I told Griffin, because he couldn't make it, whatever. Daughter had softball game, some baseball game. And I told him that Christine showed up. He said, man, fuck Pete. He said, that motherfucker got me in all kind of trouble with my wife. I said, what are you talking about? He said, man, I don't even know how he found out where I live. He said, the motherfucker shows up at my house one day. I said, what? Yeah, he shows up in my house. And so, I'm trying to be neighborly and, visit with him. We go sit in the garage and, I offer him a beer. We're chilling out and talking. He said, all of a sudden, this motherfucker pulls out the crack pipe, right? And fucking sparks up. He said, Tracy coming around the goddamn corner. Now, fucking this motherfucker sitting there fucking, the fucking Fumar La Piedras in the fucking goddamn garage. and and Tracy see that, and so she think that fucking Brad is on the rock too, right? And so she got mad at him. He fucking hollered and fucking Wallet. He run Wallet off, right? Takes off, and you know, of course, he called and fucking, you know, I'm sorry or whatever. Look, don't come around here no more. You ain't gonna come around here fucking smoking rocks. So I got my kid. I got 3 kids over at the house. My wife, and freaking, you know, you just gonna whip it out, you know, on the cool like fucking, you know, oh, everybody do it. You know what I mean? And here come anyway. So he said, "Don't fuck around. Don't come back no more. Don't call her nothing." Okay. Well, a couple of weeks later, he said Pete called him anyways. Well, he answered the phone, and Wallet told him, "Hey, I'm on my way to your place." He says, "You ain't coming over here." He says, No. Look, seriously, I need to borrow your truck. Somebody stole mine." I said, "What'd you tell that motherfucker?" He said, "I was in shock that the motherfucker gonna say, 'Hey, I'm coming to borrow your truck after mine got stole.' I couldn't think of anything right off the bat." He said, "Then I told him, motherfucker, somebody steal your shit, you ain't fucking borrowed mine." He's I guess he kind of went off on a fucking tangent telling him fucking, "I know nobody stole your truck. Fucking, you sold that shit for fucking, you sold your truck for gas money to get to the fucking rock dealer. I don't know what the fuck." Anyway,
$20 for the truck.
I guess he never showed up.
Wait,
Yeah.
so who fucking his wife? Or did she really just come to kick it?
Hey, look, I don't know. I don't know who's fucking his wife. All I know is, so Griffin came this year to the reunion. He stayed at the house, and I told him about Christine showing up or whatever. He says, "Were you hitting it?" I said, "No, I wasn't hitting it." He said, "Well, all you would have needed is a little rock." I said, "What?" He said, "Oh, Christine ain't no better off than motherfucking Petey."
God damn. God damn. Oh, hey, man, this is the last one I want to ask you. I'm gonna run and McDonald's grab me some food I ain't ate. Hey, who was the goddamn? Remember, it was a sergeant, man. I'll be laughing at this shit because it remind me of Shallow Hal. You ever seen that movie Shallow Hal with the motherfucking
Yeah.
Jack Black, where he'd be messing with the big humongous ass chick? It was a sergeant over in fucking. He was marrying everything, but he used to like big humongous white girls. He was like a light skinned black dude, man. He was fucking. He wore glasses. He was marrying everything and shit. That motherfucker used to cheat on his wife, and you'll always see him walking to the barracks with some big ass fucking like. He always say he liked the 300-pound women. If a woman weighed 250, she too skinny. But he'll walk to the barracks
Good
to
God.
fucking find some chick from some club where he go out to the club or some shit. Be having these big, humongous fucking women. I guess he was cool with somebody in the barracks. He'd go to their room and fuck these big girls. I'm like, this motherfucker was disgusting, man. I can't remember. I can't think of who that dude name. I would wonder if whatever happened to that fool, man. That shit was the funniest shit
Now,
ever, man. And
I
he
don't
used to bring
remember.
a
He wasn't
lot
the
of fat
one.
girls in the barracks.
Hey, was he the sergeant that had that old busted ass fucking old boat with the fucking chandelier fucking hanging in? Or
It was a minivan.
he had a minivan. I don't remember this.
Yeah, he had to because his wife was a big
Oh,
ass girl, so he was always bringing him in a minivan. It was big. There was
I
big
don't
fucking
remember.
women.
Man,
And
I
he
don't
used to have
remember. I remember when I was talking to Smitty, uh, you know, that's when he asked me, he's like, "Fuck, I heard you racist, that fucking shit, you know, whatever." And we was standing up there at the barracks, and anyways, after that, we was, you know, just rapping, and he says, I said, "What are you doing hanging out here?" He said, "Oh, well, I'm waiting on this girl to show up that I met at the club the other day." Then he proceeds to tell me all this yik yak about, "Oh yeah, you know, it's only the best for me. You know, I'm just top shelf hand fucking dime pieces and all this, right? Well, all of a sudden, dude, I seen this old fucking goddamn bow-legged fucking flat-footed motherfucker in some flip-flaps, doggone looking like March of the Penguins, fucking built like something the midgets off the Wizard of Oz, but fucking, twice as big
Oompa
around.
Loompas.
She's so fat, dude. She walking around her shit, like this here, and she walking real fast across the parking lot. All of a sudden, like Smitty want to shut it down. He got to go back to his room. Like, oh man, I'm tired. Fucking, this girl be, and she's getting closer, and like he starts, kind of getting nervous. I said, Smitty, I said, you know that girl right there? He says, what girl? I said, don't play. I said, what the fuck? He said, well, I gotta go. I said, all right, I'm gonna leave you alone. So I walked down the stairs and she walked straight up, and like Smith was walking as she was walking up, like he was walking away from her, and they was on two different stairs, and she running, like she moving faster. She done took off the flip-flops and everything, run barefoot, and fucking and Smitty, he's walking slower, but like he's looking, hope I don't see you, right? And so the next day, I asked him, I said, hey, why you want to tell me them lies about, dime pieces, you only the top shelf and all this? I said, that was a motherfucking booger, son. I said, she didn't shave her legs or nothing. Dude, I done seen that shit fucking come out there in mini skirt. She ought to be ashamed of herself. And then fucking, you gonna lie to me and then, walk slow fucking, but you leaving like goddamn fucking, you know what? You hope I don't notice. Oh man, I said, where you find her? He's like, shut up. He said, that was just once, fucking whatever. Fucking.
Goddamn Smitty, man. Man, we got to get on this motherfucker, man. I'm gonna go run and go grab me something to eat, man.
All right. Hey, I'm gonna cut out. I'm gonna take a nap, man.
All right, shit. Yeah, we've been on here for almost 4 hours, man.
Fuck around. All right, Reggie. Well, I'll get at you, and we'll figure out when we're gonna do the next one.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right, bro. Be good. Have a good evening.
All right, you too now.
Adios.
Peace. You got to hit that. Make sure you hit the right button to end live.
Yeah, I got it right here.